don't want to just go gently into that good night. So I went to Montgomery Men's Health. I got some lab work and a urologist prescribed me some meds. Wow, it made it happen. I can't say enough good about them. They took care of me, followed up, and made adjustments to make it happen even better. I even learned I had low testosterone, which they were also treating me for. And I have never felt better. If I were you and you're like me, I'd give them a call today at 334-440-3663 or go to montgomerymenshealth.com. If you like most guys, they'll make it happen for you too.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Never, ever give up. Don't give up. Don't allow it to happen. If there's a concrete wall in front of you, go through it, go over it, go around it, but get to the other side of that wall.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Hey, mister! I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a fella in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his can. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
That's how you conduct yourself in a democracy?
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Eddie Bader in the house with me.
How you doing, Joey?
Doing all right. Sky Mosley should be joining us in a second. He needs a little break time after doing that 3 hours before us.
Decompress a little bit.
But the good news is we got a great guest, and I'm enjoying this tradition on Wednesdays. We have Jeff Poor. He's the editor-in-chief there at 1819 News, and he's also, well, the host of the Jeff Poor Show there in Mobile, 106.5 FM there in that area. Jeff, how are you this afternoon?
Doing well, Joey. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, always great to have you on the program. And, well, it looks like Steve Marshall, because I want to jump right into this. Later in the program, we have coming on Philip Insler, who's actually my state rep. He's a Democrat. We're going to get the Democratic perspective here on the show from Philip in the 2 o'clock hour. But I want to talk to you and a lot of the audience about how do you think this appeal, because I believe the news is that Attorney General Steve Marshall is going to appeal this to the Supreme Court of the United States, this recent federal court ruling. How do you think this plays out?
I always thought it was risky. It's a long shot, or maybe it is a long shot. It's an unknown, which makes it risky, I think. But there's no guarantee the Supreme Court will take this up. That's just my gut reaction. So what I mean, we'll go back to the special session, and when the Alabama legislature acted how they did, and they took a real gamble here, thinking they could flip a Supreme Court justice. And, they knew what happened yesterday with that court decision was going to be what was going to happen. They knew that this was going to be the outcome. Well, now we've made it to this phase. There's no guarantee the Supreme Court will take it up. And that's the gamble. You got to get to the big game to play in the big game before you can win it, and that's sort of the approach there. So, I don't know. They seem to feel pretty confident, feel pretty good about it, but this is a pivotal moment in time for this whole process.
Now, one guy I've noticed, at least he's very active on Twitter X, but is he still active in politics, I guess is my question, and Alabama politics in particular. That's former Senator Doug Jones. I've seen him piping up a lot, not just on this issue, but with Tommy Tuberville's hold on military nominations. Is Doug still a pretty active force in the Democratic Party here in the state?
He's not in this state, no. This is still Joe Reed State. And even the great Doug Jones couldn't even pierce that. But I'd say this about Senator Jones, or former Senator Jones, I think he wants to be Attorney General. I mean, historically, these guys who serve as Attorney General, they don't last more than a couple of years. And Merrick Garland has lasted longer than a lot of them. But the next, who would be next if he were to ever step down? And Doug Jones, I think, as a surrogate for the Biden administration, he, I think, is betting on a Biden victory, or whatever may happen. And by virtue of him having been in the Senate and knows a lot of the people, including Republicans, think that maybe he could get confirmed. So I think all of this activism you see from Doug Jones on Twitter and on cable news, it's very self-serving. He is a guy who wants to be back in the cabinet for the Biden administration. He probably feels he should have been in the Biden administration, but got passed over. And I think that's the play for Senator Jones.
Well, and it's interesting how, say, a blue state like California can produce a Ronald Reagan, and a very conservative types come out of some of these blue states because they feel like they're under siege. I think as much as we have the legacy of the Blue Dogs or the Dixiecrats, even going further back, it seems like we're now getting that effect in deep red Alabama, that some of your most vocal national liberals are coming from the deep red South. And Doug Jones strikes me as that. He doesn't strike me as like a bad guy, like I'm going to draw a mustache on him or horns on him or anything. But he does seem like he is very down with the latest and what the progressive cause is doing, and he's very vocal about it.
I mean, I always kind of liked him. I thought that he was just wrong. Right. He wasn't like one of these guys that would like demagogue people. And he was trying to do the right thing for Alabama when he was a U.S. senator. Like I said, he was just going about it wrong. But he had good intentions. But like this new Doug Jones we're seeing right now, where he is just a surrogate, a proxy for the Biden administration. It just reeks of self, promotion. Like he wants to be something in the Biden administration, or he's angling for his next gig as a cable news commentator, whatever it may be. It feels a little. It doesn't. When I got to know him when he was senator from 2017 to 2020, he is a totally different person now than what he was.
Okay, well. And continuing on this theme, in a second I want to get to your suggestion for the Republican if a new district is made and we don't have any incumbent in the brand new district. But keep focusing on the Democrats for a moment. What are sort of the different cliques and camps within the Democratic Party these days here in Alabama, especially this part of the state, central Alabama?
Well, it's Joe Reed and then everybody else. And it turns out, I mean, that's the schism, right? And until that schism's overcome, I mean, the Democratic Party's not going anywhere. They tried it both ways. You had sort of the activists, and that's the Tabitha Eisners, and I mean, even to some degree, Chris England, who was the chairman for a brief amount of time. But it turned out, without the Joe Reed machine, the Democratic Party just it's not going to fundraise. People just aren't going to be engaged in it. They thought that Doug Jones had kind of thrown his weight around and got a different leadership, a different brand to the Alabama Democratic Party, and it lasted all of 2 years. And then finally, here we are, post-Nancy Worley, the Chris England experiment failed, and they have gone back to what they know, but there's still this division within the Alabama Democratic Party. And I think, the old gun, the guy who really runs a lot of things, even in this stage of life, it's Joe Reed, the father of the mayor of Montgomery.
Am I correct in remembering, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that Joe Reed has not played well with the National Democratic Party?
No, and look, he has his own thing going with the Alabama Democratic Conference or whatever it is, which is supposed to be the African American group within the Democratic Party. And he puts a lot of emphasis on that over the Alabama Democratic Party. And I think nationally, they try to social engineer everything down to a T. The National Party thinks you've got to have this number of Asians and this number of LGBTQ and this number of Hispanics, and go on down the line. Female representation, Joe Reed's not going to do any of that. It's just about whatever benefits Joe Reed and his cronies versus what the idealism of the modern Democratic Party is, and that's sort of the rub.
Well, there you go. Again, folks are talking to Jeff Poor. If you are in the Mobile area, or folks can listen online, right, Jeff?
Yeah, FMTalk1065.com. I'm on 9 to noon if you're ever down that way or take an interest in listening to my show.
Now, are you sensing any, because I'm not sensing it, but especially with this quote, this is Coach Senator Tommy Tuberville, we're going to have holds for a long, long time, and they can just get used to it. Doesn't sound like he's backing off anytime soon.
He can't back off. I mean,
right.
And we've gone down this road too far. The Democrats aren't going to back off. I mean, I think, like the stalemate until an election comes, and then maybe you'll see the holds removed. But you're either for life or you're for abortion, right? You're either, and I think this military stuff will have to be done. If they want it done before the next election, they'll have to do some of these nominations one by one rather than through unanimous consent.
Yeah, well, and I hope he stays strong. Oh, before I forget, though, because we talked about it in your show this morning, it'd just be good to bring to the local Montgomery audience out there listening. You really think Dick Brubaker would be a great person to run for Congress if we have a brand new district? And you recently talked to him. I haven't on the show in a long time, but would love to. But you recently asked him about this. What did he have to say?
He's been a regular on my show for years, and we're talking about it. And he says that there's no incumbent, meaning that if Barry Moore is drawn into what I think is going to happen, you're going to draw him into the 1st Congressional District, and you're going to have the unfortunate head-to-head Jerry Carl, Barry Moore contest in the Republican primary, perhaps. You would have a free shuttle goal for somebody. Now, the smart money is Stephen Reed. He just won re-election in Montgomery. He is going to be the Democrat guy. He may have some challengers, but right now he is going to win the Democrat nomination. Who could beat Stephen Reed is the question. You look, what Republicans can you think of? Look up and down the bench. The guy here is, I think, would be the best shot Republicans would have at winning an open congressional seat, if it's drawn as such, is the aforementioned Dick Brubaker. He has a way of winning parts of Montgomery that Stephen Reed would have to have. But I think just by virtue of being a Republican and what will be a Trump wave inside of Alabama to carry him and probably get him that seat if it's drawn that way.
Well, and final question here. Are we now satisfied? Because as I told you last week, I'm of that age. Also, I'm on the internet. Libraries still exist. And I know and I make that joke, but I know there are great local parents in the Prattville area and other parts of the state. I get why they're upset when you see some of this stuff there available to children. Should we be happy or should we be confident going forward now that Kay Ivey is on the case?
I mean, it's better than not. I'm surprised she took the break from her nap to weigh in on this, because we haven't really heard from her on anything else. But I think that she's on this case does make it more likely that something will be done. What they want, and Susan Dubose on the show this morning, she's a lawmaker, really plugged in on this issue. They want a disassociation, a disaffiliation from the American Library Association. They don't want Alabama to be a part of that. And the ALA, the American Library Association, puts forth these guidelines, and it was these things like you should do a Pride Month display. You should have these books in your children's section of your library. And then whenever these activists go and say, hey, what the heck is going on in my local library, the librarian or whatever, the low-level bureaucrat says, well, we're just following the standards of the Alabama Library Association. And it turns out whatever the American Library Association says is what the Alabama Library Association says, and a lot of these local libraries are using it as cover for what I think a lot of people think is objectionable material, subject matter being available to their children. We're not talking tweens or anything. We're talking children. We're talking 6, 7 years old, and you're getting these books with these, like, it's okay to be, gay or whatever. And at that age, is that really appropriate? And I don't think we had that discussion or not yet.
Right, and I think across the board, beyond this particular issue with the libraries and the culture wars even, I think it would be a healthy exercise to actually get back to local institutions, because from what I see,
100%.
It's like these local institutions just go paint by number. Here's what the national, so we don't really have to do much work. We just apply what we're told. And I think that's a very lazy way of going about it.
Yeah, and that's but I mean, deep down, Joe, I think some of these librarians tend to lean left, tend to lean on that side, and this is just an excuse for them to do that, because there's a lot of libraries in Alabama that aren't even aware of such a thing exists. They're just trying to put books on the shelf and have it where it serves the community in a certain way.
Yeah, and again, I get why parents are upset seeing this stuff, but I'm also like, you do know the internet exists. You better be sure that your kid doesn't have a smartphone at a certain age either. So.
Yeah, and that's fine. But the one thing I would say that, like, the internet, generally speaking, we pay for it. It's ours,
Right.
This is public money. This is a public institution. We should have, like, a town hall or a discussion or an election or whatever to say, hey, this is what we should have inside our library. We never got that opportunity. They may have had it in California in the 70s or 80s. They may have had it in some of these more progressive states, and they made a decision. In Alabama, we just followed the leader and just showed up one day. And there's your Pride Month display. And when did we say this was going to be okay? We never got that chance.
Well, we'll see how it shakes up. But actually, I made plenty of jokes about the governor, but hopefully she's moving in the right direction from her public statement. It looks like she is. And I always appreciate your time, Jeff. If folks want to find out what you're talking about, what you're thinking about, writing about, how can they do so?
It's always twitter.com/Jeff_Poor, kind of one-stop shop if you really are that interested in what I'm up to.
Well, I appreciate you as always, Jeff. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thank you, Joey.
Again, Jeff Poor, editor-in-chief there at 1819 News. And by the way, I appreciate that Jeff Poor, my own opinion editor, Annie, and everybody there in management there at 1819 News lets me indulge in one for me every once in a while on my op-ed, my column. No. Now, did you read the thing I did this week? It was not popular. I managed. You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it.
Scott, did you get a chance to read it? Anarchy?
But I generally enjoy
Top
your...
notch, man.
Oh, thank you.
I enjoy your writing, mainly because two reasons. It's really good, but I also a lot of times know where you're coming from, so I can see.
You're
I know you well
inside the
enough.
mind
Right.
of Joey Clark.
That's why I enjoy it.
No,
Yeah.
I managed though to piss off. I gotta find out a different
That's
term
part
other
of
than
the
that.
thing.
No, but I managed to make angry boomer cons. Like boomer conservatives. By the way, you don't have to be a boomer to be a boomer con. You can just have the boomer con mindset, even at a very young age.
Why do you feel like you have to label them?
Because it's a thing. It's a phenomenon.
Get in that box.
It's a thing. It's like history started with Reagan, and like there was World War II, and they were great.
Yeah, but that's all
but
the
we
past.
don't like. Can we talk about the old right and maybe some of the traditions there? No, it's like it's not a democracy; it's a constitutional republic, young man. I'm like, I know. Like, thank you,
Well,
boomer
you knew,
con.
then why didn't you say it correctly?
Right?
The first
It's just
time?
it's that sort of pedantic thing. But then it wasn't just the boomer cons that I made mad.
Yeah.
It was like left-wing anarchists. And there is a big part of the anarchist tradition is on the left. There are a lot of true communists, actually some competitors to Karl Marx. One is Mikhail Bakunin. He was actually, I think, shown to be fairly right in his critiques of what Marx and like what Stalin would go on to do. He said that if you try to instill like the dictatorship of the proletariat, like you take over the state that you hate so much, and you run it, what you're going to create is some technocratic system that controls people's lives from cradle to grave.
Kind of like what we got now?
Yeah. And he was more in the camp of like, no, we'll have a little commune or whatever. And honestly, if somebody wants to go be Amish, go
be
do it,
Amish.
man. Like, I don't mind the idea of different small little polities and communities. That's great, but there are a lot of folks still stuck in the Marxist frame of class analysis, economic analysis. And if you read what I was writing, I'm more in the slipstream of like a Tolstoy or Dostoevsky. I'm more talking about theology than I am like, you know, you gotta have capitalism.
You are an anarchist anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Still,
my
a great
disposition.
column if you can hack off.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah, but that's the sweet spot, ain't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And I genuinely mean it, folks. I think as much as we build up our institutions, and in many cases we should, you're always competing against, man's kind of radical freedom that each person has. I'm sure you've been sitting in like a very poignant or sensitive situation. Like, say when you go to church. You ever had intrusive thoughts at church? Like, what if somebody just walked up there and smacked the priest? Or
maybe started a discussion.
Or you started yelling or protesting.
Or disagreed strongly.
Any sort of big, over-the-top disruption that does not normally happen.
Yeah, I've thought of that.
Like somebody runs through streaking all of a sudden. I mean, that would be a trip at Mass.
What are you guys thinking while you're at church?
Well, no, I'm trying to focus.
You need to focus a little bit more on the Lord.
I get your point.
But the point is, most people obviously wouldn't do those things.
Right.
Like, but at the end of the day, you are free to do anything you want.
Sure.
You could blow it all up if you want. You shouldn't. That'd probably be unwise.
You can.
But because that's always a possibility, that when people are tired of institutions, or they're tired of the family, or they're tired of their friend, they're tired of work, they're tired of whatever.
Right.
Or maybe they just all of a sudden are like, hey, I found this new thing and I want to go. That's always a possibility that people could change things up and flip over the chessboard, so to speak.
Okay.
And it would be wise, I think, for leaders to understand that and to realize that, we should more, instead of repressing that and trying to tamp it down, no, let's embrace freedom. Let's embrace liberty. And actually, it's been shown, I say, over the last century or two, that, when you let people be free to make themselves rich, to organize themselves, their own local communities, and to work together in a voluntary way, it turns out it not only makes us richer, it also makes us better people.
All the way around.
Unfortunately, we've got into a system that is much more about guarantees and pull and privilege than it is about merit and your own individual initiative or voluntary initiative with the folks you know and love. So it's a weird time that we are in. It's a weird time indeed. But here, we got to get a break. Parker Snyder of 1819 News, he is going to be calling in. We're going to continue the conversation about the redistricting case, in particular, Attorney General Marshall appealing this to the Supreme Court of the United States. But before we get the break, Sky, tell us about the Alabama Gazette.
That's your hometown conservative newspaper for coming up on 24 years.
Oh, wow.
The Alabama Gazette will be celebrating their 24th anniversary with a big to-do at their downtown Montgomery offices. October 26th, we have the date now, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The public is invited to join us at the Alabama Gazette for a party celebration of their 24th anniversary. Since they began, the Alabama Gazette has always been pro-God, pro-family, pro-country. They share your values, your convictions, and they have the courage to defend them publicly. Why not advertise with someone who shares your beliefs? It's a great value. The Alabama Gazette, surprisingly affordable and extremely effective. Please give them a call, 356-6700, and find out all about how you can advertise the Alabama Gazette and reach your target audience. Again, that number, 356-6700. Come grow with us at the Alabama Gazette.
And Eric Anderson. Oh, wait, I said your whole name. Eric the dog.
Say, what are you doing?
Oh, man.
Well, it's on the internet. His name's out there. But, hola otra vez, amigos. I don't speak Spanish.
Obviously.
And, let's see. Sam, of course. Sam from Pike County says, Joey Clark, priest slapper. I am not a priest slapper.
You put it out there.
Actually, when I see a man of the cloth, when I see a holy fella, I don't care if he's Catholic or a Rebbe or a imam, or I don't care if he's a local pastor.
Yeah.
Or maybe he runs the Sikh temple. I don't know. Whenever I see a man of God, I am very swift to make a beeline and just talk to him. Like, I think those types of people.
What about nuns? How do you feel about nuns? You grew up in Catholic school all your life.
It was after the nuns stopped being authority figures.
No more rulers.
They were just sweet, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
right.
It's a kinder, gentler.
Right. But no, I tend to be like, it's a fascinating person who decides to be a faith leader. Sometimes they're hucksters. Sometimes they're like some of the most impressive, thoughtful people you've ever met. They're there when people are born and baptized. They're there when people get married. They're there when people die, and you have to put them to rest. I mean, they are there for all the big points in life, and that's a heavy burden. It's one thing when you go through it, right? for your own wedding or your own, the funerals and these sorts of things. But if you're the person having to, essentially shepherd people through those moments, who wouldn't want to learn from somebody like that? That is a heck of a thing. But here, we got to hit this break. Come back with Parker Snyder after this.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Is your cell phone or iPad cracked, broken, or not working right? Don't let the big carrier stores sucker you into a new $1,100 device. Let XI Repair fix your device today. XI Repair fixes cell phones, computers, laptops, iPads, game consoles, drones, and more. Their certified technicians fix hundreds of devices every day. When your device needs care, call XI Repair, 334-777-1234, or Google XI Repair.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group. Here's your Real Estate Minute. What's the secret behind selling your home fast and selling it for fair market value or above? There's no secret, but here's some suggestions that I've learned over 46 years in the real estate business. First, price it right. Based on other sales in your neighborhood, what should it sell for? Second, make sure all the little and big repairs you may have put off all get done before you put it on the market. Third, consider making some improvements to your house first, repainting inside and out, updating the flooring, professionally clean the whole house. Fourth, consider helping the buyer with a portion of closing costs and providing a warranty too. Number 5, don't try to do this on your own. Hire a professional realtor to provide facts, tips in selling, and guidance all the way through the transaction. Also work with the best realtors from the Goodson Group, fully trained, service-oriented folks. Call Bo Goodson 221-2883 or the Goodson Group 551-0225.
Terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. Terms and conditions apply. Visit ISSA online for details.
Tired of the 9-to-5 grind? Looking for something different that's flexible, fulfilling, and pays well? How'd you like to get paid to work out? Now you can with ISSA, the global leader in personal fitness certification.
There's a huge demand for certified personal trainers right now. And once you get ISSA certified, they guarantee you'll get a job. Trainers can make as much as $200 an hour. Yes, I said $200 an hour. And with ISSA, you can be certified in as little as 4 weeks. Just text BENCH to 323232 now to get started for free. You do everything at your own pace and 100% online.
Pursue your passion in specializations like yoga, nutrition, or strength training. Live life on your terms. Get certified and train like you want. Start your own business, work at a gym, or make health and fitness your side hustle. Whatever works for you. Just don't wait.
Get started today and be certified in as little as 4 weeks. Just text BENCH to 323232 right now to get started for free. Text the word BENCH to 323232. Text BENCH to 323232.
Don't miss the first annual Classic Car and Truck Show, Saturday, September 9th from 10 till 2. There'll be a 50-50 pot, trophies, a money tree, door prizes, and plenty of food and refreshments. It's the first annual Classic Car and Truck Show, Saturday, September 9th at Capital City Lodge, number 11 of the Fraternal Order of Police, 6055 Lower Wetumpka Road. Registration is 10 a.m. until noon, and the registration fee is $20 per vehicle. If you need more information, call Rick, 334-868-6299. That's 334-868-6299. If you think your car looks good, here's your chance to show it off at the first annual Classic Car and Truck Show, Saturday, September 9th from 10 until 2 at Capital City Lodge, number 11 of the Fraternal Order of Police, 6055 Lower Wetumpka Road. Call Rick, 334-868-6299. The first annual Classic Car and Truck Show, sponsored in part by Ernest Financial LLC and the Fraternal Order of Police.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big weather concerns for us for the next few days, but summer heat rolls on. Today's high temperature up to about 96 will be near or above 100 on the heat index. Sunshine will dominate, mostly clear tonight, low 71. Tomorrow, high in the mid-90s again, but an approaching front will bring at least a small risk of thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Then behind the front on Friday and Saturday, somewhat lower humidity. Lots of sunshine, still 94 Friday, 93 Saturday, and not much change Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
We're redesigning financial freedom at CB&S Bank. Make purchases at participating stores and restaurants using your CB&S Bank debit card through your mobile devices with Mobile Wallet. Charges and fees may apply from your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for more information. Member FDIC.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Did you like that one, Eddie?
That's a good one there, buddy.
Yeah?
Yeah. Visuals.
Yeah, but that's not for air or many occasions at all. But here, without further ado, we've got Parker Snyder of 1819 News on the line. Hey, Parker, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing good. How about you, Joey?
Doing quite well. And again, folks, in a little while, in the 2 o'clock hour, we actually have a Democratic state representative. He's technically my state representative, Philip Insler. He's just going to give the Alabama Democratic perspective, at least from where he's sitting. But as you look at this, in particular the news today that Attorney General Steve Marshall is going to appeal this recent federal court decision up to the Supreme Court, how do you think this all shakes out?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a saga we've been watching, and you know, some of us, I think, you know, we talked about this a few weeks ago, that this was kind of what we thought was going to happen, was that Alabama would draw their maps, it would get to the same court that rejected it last time, and they would say, no, you're still not doing this right. And so now what happened now is that last time it was rejected by the district court, and then it was also rejected by the Supreme Court. So now we're on try 2. It's been rejected by the district court, and so now Attorney General Marshall is planning to appeal this ruling to the Supreme Court. And so there is a chance that, you know, Alabama will be able to keep these lines. Now, and that happens because we definitely didn't, I mean, it's hard to argue that Alabama did what the district court asked, which was basically make 2 majority-minority districts. But the Supreme Court, when they came back and they said what they said, they didn't say you have to make 2 majority-minority districts. They said, this is just not working, this map that you have right now. And so there's a chance that they're going to approve this map, but there's a good chance that they could just deny this appeal. They could just pretend they're not, you know, ignore it, or they could actually take it up. But the real question is whether they're going to just actually allow the special master to redraw this, because special master's like, I mean, it could be whoever the court appoints, and I don't know if they've announced who they have chosen yet, but right now it's not going to be the legislature.
Well, and definitely one thing I'm going to bring up with Rep. Insler is when I look at this, I hear a lot of folks saying, making appeals to principle and fairness and all sorts of things. But when I look at something like how we draw districts for elections, isn't this purely a political power play? You get away with what you can get away with?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what it is, right? And you know, the winners draw the line, kind of like the age-old, you know, line that history is written by those who won. And so, you know, the bad guys are the ones who lost. And so, I mean, that is kind of happening here. And it is important, you know, though, for like Alabama to not be like, man, this is just a problem in our state because Republicans are terrible. The Democrats do it in Massachusetts. They do it in Democratic states. Obama was famously one of the most gerrymandered. He had one of the most gerrymandered districts. It was actually against him. They were trying to get him out of out of a more affluent district. But this is a problem that faces all of our states because of how we do it, because the winners in the legislature get to draw who their voters are, which is just, it's pretty wacky.
Well, and I think it's because there isn't a rock solid principle here. I think a lot of this law and then case law comes out of a particular period in time where I think the initial test made a lot of sense as they're fighting Jim Crow. I think it violates a lot of, it maybe goes too far and trying to go into the private sphere of life, but it makes a lot of sense what they're trying to do. But now that we're 60 years hence, it seems like new cases have come up. And so the standards, because they're not rock solid, they're not written in stone, they're going to continue to shift as time shifts. And so this is, I believe, what A.G. Marshall is banking on, that there's other case law and other laws that, in cases the Supreme Court has ruled on, that have yet to be tested. And so by drawing these two districts that really made this, federal court that just ruled against them mad, you're actually appealing to other Supreme Court cases that haven't fully been tested.
Yes, yeah, no, that's exactly what he's going to be trying to do. And I think one thing that's interesting about the legal system is it's all based on, the word reasonable. And so, what is reasonable at one point in time is not always reasonable at another point. And so our entire legal system hinges on an interpretation of that word in a lot of ways. And so, it's just going to depend on whether those 9 justices, 6 of which, have been appointed by Republicans, are going to see this. I mean, last time it was a 5-4 vote. And so there were 2 Republican or appointed justices who also struck down our map. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. And people are asking, like, who's gonna be, which 2 Republicans are gonna be in a district fighting each other off? They might not even care about that. They might put Jerry Carl or Barry Moore in a Democratic district, and it's not like they may not be smushed into one. They may be having to fight, a majority-minority district, and it's a whole other ballgame when you don't have the legislature control and you let someone else do it.
Yeah, and again, groping for this objective standard and drawing these lines, I think, is a fool's errand, or it's just a smokescreen for usual self-interest in politics. Real quick, the story trending at 1819 News today is DOJ shields Rachel Levine, first openly transgender admiral. What do you think, Nimitz was closeted? Yes. From discovery in Alabama case defending transgender treatments for minors ban. And this is by Craig Monger there at 1819, but it looks like the DOJ, again, is playing favorites, with their own within the administration.
Yeah, and that's not super surprising, I think, to me or to most of our listeners. I mean, I saw something on Twitter today about the FBI going in and taking a gun safe from someone who was at January 6th, and because the company gave them the code to the gun safe. Yep. And it's just, you can just see kind of the big companies and the federal bureaucracy playing favorites, and I don't know that this would happen in a Trump administration, even if there was a transgender person in the cabinet, just because this is kind of like their holy grail, like the transgender movement right now. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens. But that is an interesting thing. You wonder why she would even be involved in this at all.
Well, and I'm looking at the story. This is according to Fox News. Steve Marshall filed for discovery for Levine's records, believing Levine to be one of the primary voices in the federal government and the Department of Health and Human Services advocating for sex change interventions for minors. It is not hyperbole, I'm quoting Steve Marshall, quote, "It is not hyperbole to say that Admiral Levine is the leading public-facing official in the United States government when it comes to transitioning treatments for minors." So if one were putting together a list of potential custodians at HHS concerning transitioning treatment for minors, Levine would be at the top. Levine obviously has communications and documents relevant to this litigation, yet when defendants requested that Levine be made a custodian, the United States refused. So, I mean, if you're heading up HHS and you're pushing all this stuff from the top down, threatening federal funding, often with schools in so many other ways, I think you are a party to this, but I guess we're not surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, you mentioned that safe case, and this is Liberty Safe, and I remember Liberty Safes being advertised all over conservative media. I did not know And this is what opened people's eyes, that they have the codes to pretty much everybody's safe that they sell.
Yeah, that was news to me as well. That's very surprising.
That kind of defeats the whole purpose of a safe.
Yeah, you would think that you would be able to change. I guess I don't have a big safe like that. Can you not change the code yourself?
Yeah, you can, but usually you have to bring in a locksmith, and if he's got ties to them, they still got the code.
Right.
And I guess I was like, is it Wi-Fi connected? Like, how is this?
And they
thing
probably
updated?
always still have a master code no matter what. I think all safe makers do.
Right.
Which is still, you don't give it out to the government. You don't give it out to anybody. That's the whole reason I bought the damn safe.
Ask Apple.
Well, there you go.
Right. Well, and Liberty Safe is getting just destroyed on Twitter right now. Because what they did, folks, is the DOJ, the FBI, served a warrant, and they gave up the code to this person supposedly involved in January 6th, to the person's safe. So, yeah. You learn, the more you know.
Yeah.
Rough stuff.
Well, I always appreciate your time, Parker. If folks want to see what you're writing about, thinking about, how can they do so?
Yeah, thanks, Joey. You can visit 1819news.com. We got all the news and all the opinions that you'll ever want to hear. So, yeah, we really appreciate you visiting our site.
Appreciate you, sir, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Joey.
And that's Parker Snyder there of 1819 News. This part of the program brought to you by Bath Innovations.
Good folks, Joe.
Of Alabama. Now, folks, we only have so much time to talk about them. You're on the airwaves. We've told you they're great people, great local people.
Mm-hmm.
Brad McDowell, when he founded Bath Innovations in 1994, made it his mission to serve every household. I don't know if he's quite gotten there, but he's gotten close.
He's working on it.
And that's a heck of a goal, to serve every household here locally when it comes to your bathroom needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so at Bath Innovations, because we have limited time here on the radio, what you should do is go to bathinnovations.com.
Definitely.
So you should look into these aging in place solutions for seniors or others with accessibility concerns. They can help you there at Bath Innovations, from ergonomic like shower heads and fixtures to anti-slip mats and seating to bathtub to walk-in shower conversion. Or maybe you're looking to do a full remodel with this brand new ABS acrylic shower system. Really cool stuff, amazing stuff. Or maybe you just want to fix a chipped tub or sink or something's discolored, just
something simple,
little off. They can do all of that there for you at Bath Innovations, no matter your budget. So again, you can always go to bathinnovations.com. The possibilities of all this mixing and matching are endless. And after you check them out, be sure to stop by, see those local folks at 2331 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. And be sure to tell Brad and the team that Joey and Eddie from News and Views in the Afternoon sent you. More News and Views, well, after this quick break.
Know whether he's coming or going. But whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. Did you know the current national average turn time to close on a mortgage is 48 business days? But not at Alabama Home Mortgage. At Alabama Home Mortgage, our average close time is 16 business days. That's a month faster than the rest. How do we do it? With over 60 years of combined experience in the industry. Our team knows mortgages. Our years of experience yield a better experience for our customers. Folks, time is money. Whether you're looking to buy or refi, Don't waste time with another mortgage company, bank, or credit union. We close on time every time. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our fast turn time is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
Nothing beats the smell of the grill and the thrill of the biggest and best barbecue competition around. Come join us at Wind Creek Montgomery for Pusacue, October 6th and 7th. You'll enjoy food trucks, vendors, and live music. Open to the public on Friday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. New this year, you can win a Can-Am Maverick Turbo RR during our Last Hand Standing contest. Visit windcreekmontgomery.com for more info. See you there.
Picture this. A serene, tranquil resting place surrounded by nature's beauty. A place where memories are cherished and loved ones are forever remembered. We're talking about your final resting place, and it's never too early to start planning for it. Pineview Memorial Gardens in Wetumpka has been family-owned and operated for over 55 years. We understand the importance of pre-need planning. You can make decisions that reflect your personal wishes. You can choose the perfect location, whether it's a serene garden, a peaceful mausoleum, or a place in our cremation wall. Pre-need planning alleviates the burden from your loved ones during a time of grief. By planning ahead, you can secure today's prices, protecting yourself and your family from future cost increases. So why wait? Contact Pineview Memorial Gardens in Wetumpka today. Your final resting place should be a reflection of your unique journey. Take control of your future and make pre-need planning a priority. Pineview Memorial Gardens in Wetumpka, where memories live on.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Eddie Bader in the studio.
How you doing, Joey?
I'm doing all right. And folks, this part of the program is brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health. In fact, they're a big part of why I'm doing all right. The treatments they've had me on, it's been a light touch treatment done over a long period of time, and it's working. I mean it. I joke about I've been eating like a pig, but I'm not gaining weight. I'm not. And I think it's because I've got my testosterone right.
Yeah.
And I just feel better in general from... well, all the things we talk about, to having more energy. Now, the sleep thing, I got to stop drinking so much caffeine, and that's a whole
messing you up there a little bit.
Yeah, but like I feel it at the gym in particular. Like I can move weight I never could a year or two ago.
Feel like you got some gains going on?
And I haven't been hitting it that hard.
Right.
I've just been maintaining. But you start to notice these differences. You know how we talk about how your libido goes up. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, Joey.
It's all good. All good there. So here's the deal, folks. If you are feeling all the opposite of what I described, like you're feeling run down, tired, just listless, no sex drive to speak of, well, it could be low testosterone. So for only $99 in about an hour, you can know your testosterone numbers there at Montgomery Men's Health, and they have these treatments that will change your life. You will feel better. Most men experience higher energy, better gains at the gym, mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, and an increased libido.
That's pretty good, Joey.
Pretty good stuff. So y'all check them out today. Make an appointment by calling Montgomery Men's Health at 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to montgomerymenshealth.com. And be sure to tell those folks there at Montgomery Men's Health that Joey and Eddie from News and Views in the Afternoon sent you. Oh, look, it's Red Top. We haven't talked to him in a second.
It's been a day.
Yeah, just 23 hours and 9/10 ago. But, hey, Joey, this is new, and my friend Super Bankers showed me another video of him exercising yesterday. It's the weighted push-up. This guy's got some kind of rigged band that he puts around the barbell, around his back. He puts his feet up on his golf cart and a bench, and he puts a 75-pound weight on his waist, and he does push-ups.
75-pound?
Additional to his own body weight.
That's pretty, and he's doing it on an incline, hit that upper chest. Yeah, that's a pretty serious shoulder chest workout right there.
And that's at
and core.
74 years old.
Oh no, it's amazing if you work great at it. If you maintain and keep yourself healthy and physically fit, you'll last for a long time.
Oh, you're not kidding. And, that's very encouraging to me. I guess he likes to show this stuff to me because I'm the only other person that I'm going to be 70 in about 85 days. He's very a good influence, Joey, because I see this guy. He is damn Superman, 5 years older. We're going to get a ride in that new Corvette soon once it cools off. And he told me, he said, you're going to forget every roller coaster you've ever been on.
All right.
So I'll give you a report if I'm still alive after he takes me out in the Corvette. Now, these guys are making damn fools of us again with all this. We're just going to be losing representatives every time they get the courts all pissed off and they redraw the lines. It ain't good, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, this was kind of in the cards. What's odd is the districts before had been pre-cleared. With the one big district, minority majority district that Terry Sewell has reigned over for so long. And then you had the others, and those maps have been cleared before. I guess the courts decided, well, no, you got to make things even more fair for the Democrats.
Boy, we need to get that damn monkey off our back in this state somehow. I don't know how it continues to keep coming up, but and this state has got a lot to offer, but a lot to lose by pissing off the federal government over and over again. And probably the worst news of all is Russia and Saudi Arabia dropping production million barrels a day.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go eat our asses up at the gas tank.
Yep.
That's the worst news of the day by far. Hadn't seen it go up yet, but I'm sure it's not but a matter of 24 hours. It's got to go up 25 cents.
No, and that is the general long-term trend that makes me nervous is the rest of the world. They're not quite ready to get out from under the United States thumb, but they're working at it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're doing a good job, too, and with no leadership up top, and Xi not even going to the G20 summit for two reasons. A, his economy's in horrible trouble, and the United States just gave him another bailout, by the way. So we need to stop bailing these people from hell out. It's just so twisted. I can't believe how twisted. And you know what? There's no reason for a war to last 2 years in the 21st century. We need to get Donald Trump that because I believe in 24 hours they can stop that thing. Don't you guys?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on when you actually get in there. It might be the Russians have taken enough at a certain point where they're like, well, we get to define the terms, guys.
Ain't that just it's so frustrating. Anyway, I hope we both have a good football weekend. I know Alabama's gonna have Texas. They say ain't all it's supposed to be, but I'd be very wary of that bunch. So okay, guys, roll tide, go Trump. See ya.
See you, Red
Tom. And on the Ukraine-Russia war, and just don't worry about that. I don't know, have you seen these open map sources where people do the geolocated, like here's a tank getting blown up, here's a cruise, here's a drone being used.
You see the British tank?
Right, yeah, the British tank, the Leopard, or that the German one, I don't know. But yeah, one of the state-of-the-art tanks was destroyed recently. And what's fascinating, folks, is you can get the same methods are used by more establishment types like the Institute for the Study of War, but you can find a lot of YouTubers online who are... they have Eastern European accents. Some sound Russian. Some sound not quite Russian, but Eastern European. And it's fascinating. I mean, the way they break this down, it seems like the Ukrainians really are having a lot of trouble getting through that first line of defense. Now, they're killing a lot of Russians, but not enough for their purposes.
So, yeah.
And it seems like the Russians are more than willing to bide their time. And this isn't like you got a bunch of, troop infantrymen out there digging trenches with shovels. No, this was like full-on contractors pouring concrete.
Yep.
Some of these defenses are created, and they're designed for the Ukrainians to break the first line. So you then trap them in between all these intricate trench networks, and so you can hit them from any sort of angle.
Trap. Becomes a trap.
And so it's just without air support, without, like, if you ask, hey, if the United States was actually fighting this with Russia and we'd left nukes out of the picture, I mean, there would be a lot of things we'd be using the Ukrainians just don't have.
Sure.
And even then, it wouldn't exactly be easy. I think we'd be surprised how difficult it would be. So,
but honestly, I don't think the Soviets are coming at them with everything they got either.
The Soviets.
I know. You love it when I say that.
Such a Gen Xer. We'll be right back, folks.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Enrique Tarrio, the former national chairman of the Proud Boys, has been sentenced to 22 years in prison for his role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. A driver who slammed into a busy Denny's restaurant in a suburb of Houston and injured 23 people is not facing any charges. The driver was not hurt and not arrested. The investigation is ongoing but will consider road and weather conditions. Tropical Storm Lee churning through the open waters of the Atlantic and expected to develop into a hurricane as it travels toward the Caribbean. It's not forecast to make landfall, but is projected to pass just northeast of the British Virgin Islands. On Wall Street, the Dow is down 265 points and the Nasdaq losing 181. This is SRN News.
Former CIA officer and survival expert Jason Hansen here. I teach people how to prepare for the unexpected. Right now, most Americans are not ready for the death of the U.S. dollar. You have money sitting in cash, and if you don't act soon, your financial future could be at risk. I have partnered with Advantage Gold, the #1 rated precious metals company in America, to release my new digital dollar survival kit that's 100% free for everyone who calls today and claims your free survival kit. Simply call 800-900-8000 and give your email address, and I will have this new digital dollar survival kit sent to you immediately. Call 1-800-900-8000 now and claim your free kit, and also mention my name, Jason Hansen, and see how you could also qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Supplies are limited, so call right now before it's too late. Call 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Check with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Rich Thomas weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big weather concerns for us for the next few days, but summer heat rolls on. Today's high temperature up to about 96 will be near or above 100 on the heat index. Sunshine will dominate, mostly clear tonight, low 71. Tomorrow, high in the mid-90s again, but an approaching front will bring at least a small risk of thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Then behind the front on Friday and Saturday, somewhat lower humidity. Lots of sunshine, still 94 Friday, 93 Saturday, and not much change Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors & More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors & More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
1819 News.
Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall says he plans to appeal the recent decision by a 3-judge panel that does not accept the redrawn congressional districts for the state. Marshall said he's disappointed in the district court's ruling in the case of Allen versus Milligan, and that he strongly believes that the legislative map does comply with the Voting Rights Act. Marshall told 1819 News that his office intends to seek a prompt review from the U.S. Supreme Court in order to prepare for the 2024 elections. The executive director for the National Republican Redistricting Trust also weighed in on the issue. Adam Kincaid says that 2 potential remedies that the judges are seeking both violate existing case law, and it will likely be brought to the attention of the U.S. Supreme Court upon appeal. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Are you enjoying 1819 News? If so, consider joining 1819 News as a member. As a nonprofit news organization, we depend on the support of Alabamians like you. Memberships start out as little as $5 a month, and you'll get access to exclusive content only offered to our members. You'll be supporting independent journalism done by people who cherish Alabama values. Become a member today by visiting 1819news.com and clicking Become a Member. That's 1819news.com and click Become a Member today.
This morning, the Enterprise Municipal Airport had to be evacuated due to a phone call about the facility. Enterprise police received the concerning phone call and then responded by searching the grounds. No more details are available on this story. And the Sampson City Council voted this week to reject the resignation letter coming from Police Chief Jimmy Hill, and they fired him instead. Hill and his wife Pam were both placed on administrative leave this past July. While an investigation was conducted, that investigation concluded in August. Lieutenant Chris Miranda has now been named acting police chief following the official termination of Hill. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Looking for insurance, or maybe you're just not satisfied with your current carrier? How does quality coverage with local service and competitive rates sound to you? The folks at Stark Agency offer just that. Whether you need insurance for your business, car, home, or life, Stark Agency can help. As an independent insurance agency with over 20 of the top insurance carriers, Stark is sure to find the perfect match for you and your loved ones. Visit their site at starkagency.com or give them a call at 334-263-5535 for a quote today. The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Welcome back. The news and views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Eddie Bader here in the house. And I got to tell you, folks, one of my favorite things to do is to tell Eddie something we cannot say on the air before we hop back on the air.
Right before we hop back on.
Yeah, but here's a story I want to go to because it shows the divisions, I think, that are very real within the Republican Party. Pence to take aim at siren song of populism.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
But let's, real quick, let's look up, what does he mean by siren song? A siren song typically refers to the song of the siren. Well, thank you, Wikipedia.
Duh, Joey.
Which are dangerous creatures in Greek mythology who lured sailors with their music and voices to shipwreck.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that, but what do we mean?
You've probably never been on a boat at night, but if there are certain creatures around, especially seals, it sounds like women are crying and hollering for you. It's very strange. And you'll never see them, but I swear you hear them. It's like they're right behind you on the boat. It is very strange.
Oh, no, and so it's something that seems alluring and appealing, and if you give into that allure, that appeal,
you're gone.
You're dead.
Yeah.
Or he was turned into a toad. You know, that sort of thing. We thought you was a toad. But, so that's populism, apparently.
Right.
Well, let's listen to Mike Pence. Okay. Apparently, here's a little clip of him calling out populism. Yeah. This is Mike Pence, and I'm here to explain. Take it away, Mr. Vice President.
I am everything I ever will be. I owe to my family, the people of this country, Almighty God.
Oh, come on. Is this one of these stupid... Like, the corporate press is just useless. Like, thank you for the graphics video. As you say, he's giving a speech about populism being a siren song.
I never heard him say anything, Joe.
Hmm?
I never heard him say anything.
Right. It just went from family is very important to me. Apparently, this is coming up.
Is he making a Facebook reel? Is that what this is?
But I do want to give Pence his due.
Other areas of foreign policy where there's a divide, not only.
So this is very much a divide within the Republican Party. This is Pence with Shannon Bream of Fox News.
From that debate stage, but really within the GOP here in Washington is about continued funding for Ukraine. The White House has asked for another $24 billion to be committed. They're tying that to domestic aid. We'll talk about that as there's criticism that needs to be broken apart. But in the meantime, GOP House member Mark Alford wrote in The Hill an opinion piece. He's on House Armed Services as well. And he says basically he's not going to support any more money going to Ukraine without a few things. He needs a clear direction from the White House. What are the policies? Where is this money going? What are the measuring sticks? He goes on to say we can't afford to continue down this path. Mounting expenses, rising inflation, and escalating national debt necessitate a responsible approach. So for you, where do you draw the line? Either in measuring whatever objectives are there in Ukraine, or saying no more U.S. tax dollars or depletion of our military weapons, which we've gotten signals are at a dangerous level, especially should we be drawn into a conflict involving China and Taiwan.
Well, I want to agree with Congressman Alford that I think President Joe Biden has done a terrible job explaining what our national interest is in Ukraine. There's a lot of these gauzy speeches he's given about defending democracy. Look, I believe we need to continue to provide the Ukrainian military the resources they need to repel the Russian invasion, because I have no doubt, Shannon, that if Vladimir Putin overruns Ukraine, he's going to cross a border of a NATO country where we will be required under Article 5 to send our troops. But let me also say, I want to strongly agree with him that this economy is struggling. I know you've got another guest coming on. The Biden administration's trying to make a case that Bidenomics is working, but nobody's buying Bidenomics. You know, I was in Iowa this week, and I told people, you know, inflation's at a 40-year high. Mortgage rates are at a 22-year high. 2 out of 3 Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Bidenomics has been a failure for American families, and I really believe the time has come for us to offer a vision for renewing this economy, tackling inflation, but it doesn't mean we have to give up with our role of leader of the free world. As I said back in that debate, anybody that says that we can't be the leader of the free world and get this economy moving and secure our border and deal with all the issues the American people are dealing with, anybody thinks we can't do both those things got a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth. We can do both with the right Republican leadership in the White House.
What is the measuring stick, though, for where our obligation to Ukraine begins and ends?
Well, Joe Biden said in his State of the Union address that we're there as long as it takes. And Shannon, I'm going to tell you, it shouldn't take that long. We're the arsenal of democracy, and
are you buying this at all?
No, I mean, he's so
like America's the greatest country in the world. We can do anything.
He's just too fake, too corporate. Again, I hate that we're even entertaining the fact that this man is trying to be president. It's just, I got nothing for him.
Yeah, well, he's going to continue here. I mean, this should be happening faster.
Frankly, the Biden administration has been providing support to the Ukrainian military in dribs and drabs. They just recently approved the transfer of F-16s. They promised tanks back in January. They're still not there. You know, I really do believe that what we need is to provide the resources, the equipment, the missiles, the aircraft that Ukraine needs to repel that Russian invasion in a much more rapid pace than the Biden administration has done. And I'm going to continue to champion that. Look, we're the leader of the free world.
That's all I need to hear.
And if America's not leading the free world, it's not being led. And today, Joe Biden has left a vacuum on the world stage that China and Russia are working every day to fill.
I'm sorry, but American leadership, the way he's using that term over the last 2 decades, has been crap. Especially for the American people, not to mention all sorts of people of the world.
He wants to go back to the old way of thinking where the American and the USA is the police of the world. That's why we're in the crap hole we're in now. Why on earth would we want to bring back this old turd?
Well, apparently he's going to keep pushing.
Sure
and actually, in that lane, I think Nikki Haley has a lot more juice than Mike Pence.
Sure. But I see both of them as...
Oh, yeah, no, and it's the same thing. It's like Democrats are bad. We'll just do the thing more, harder, faster, stronger, and we'll cut taxes for the rich again because that helps the economy.
All they're doing is bringing up plays from the past that worked for their predecessors, that we all got duped one time, and they're like, hey, the American people are dumb enough, they fell for it one time, they'll fall for it again. Look at COVID. You saw Joe with the mask.
Well, and for instance, Mike Pence just made the claim that we can do both.
No.
We can be the leader of the free world, and we can make this nation better and secure this. We can do both. Did you happen to see this? It's a story here on my list here. Where is that? Where is that? Oh yeah, we're on pace for the national debt.
Yeah.
Just the interest on the national debt, like servicing it.
Right. Making the payments.
Just servicing the interest on the national debt will very soon be more expensive than defense spending and entitlement spending combined.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike, we're doing great, Mr. Vice President.
Joey. How long have we seen this coming? Apparently, it has to hit that wall before somebody does something.
Right. And, I get tired also that Republicans are the party of tax cuts, but they never go full bore.
Right.
Like, you fiddle with the top progressive rates. You fiddle with the rates around corporations. How about giving relief to the working man?
No.
How about stop taking it right out of their paycheck and then saying it's in a lockbox for Social Security that you can then go spend on all your wars?
Yeah. And guess what? With that lockbox, they're hoping you pass away before they ever have to give you the combination.
Well, this is why I liked Rand Paul and Ted Cruz are both at that ballpark, where it's like, we're just going to have a flat tax, and the first, say, $60,000 you make is exempt.
Sure.
Like, I think that's a pretty good, and then this would also apply as a general tariff against, like, that could work. Like, there are some creative ways that the Republicans get off their butts, but what I'm hearing from Pence is delusional. Delusional.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot live in a world of the romance of your own country. You're going to end up making mistakes. God love you for loving the country, for loving the ideas, but don't let your brains spill out. And I'm tired. I thought the conservatives were the wise party that learns from history. Doesn't look like they've looked at history in the last 20, 30 years.
Joey. Every party's got idiots in it.
No, why do the idiots, so-called, continue to end up running things?
I wish I knew. That I wish I knew.
I think it has more to... They're plenty smart enough. They got high enough IQs. It's just a lack of wisdom. It's just a matter of we need to get our own house in order, not this, well, everything's fine, we'll just double down on it. Everything is just fine and dandy. Sure. 272-9228. If you want to get in on the program, that's 272-9228. Who do we got?
We got Thunder.
Hey, Thunder.
Good morning. I tell you what, every time I hear Mike Pence open his mouth, I want to do a backslap against his head. Mike Pence could have put a stop to all of the stuff in Ukraine with one fell swoop, and he did not have the intelligence nor the testicular fortitude to do so. All he had to do was say, these folks don't sound right, there's something wrong, let's go back to the states and let's fix this. Instead, he decided to hand it to the absolute worst scenario he could have put this country. So if Mike Pence wants to do anything, he needs to go and grab his little white pan and go hide in his closet. Because we don't have any use for him, and the sooner he realizes that we have no use for him, didn't have a whole lot of use for him before, and certainly don't have any use for him today. His ideas on what to do about military situations are absolutely the worst. When you've got a fire that's sitting on top of gasoline, you don't go and pour more gasoline on top of it. And he hadn't got enough intelligence to figure that out. Anyone who would vote for him or who would support him deserves what they get. Unfortunately, as we have seen with the votes for Biden, or rather the votes that were given to Biden, we're the ones that are stuck with it.
Yep.
He needs to go the hell away. The sooner, the better.
All right, then. Well,
I agree.
I appreciate it, Thunder, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you much.
I love it when she brings the thunder.
Yeah, there's something also, like, I don't begrudge Mike Pence's faith. He seems like a good family guy. Actually, when he was being made fun of for, like, he is always with his wife, he doesn't eat alone with a woman, I actually think in this day and age is a pretty darn good rule.
Except when you add all those things up, and you look at Mike Pence from, say, the 10,000 square foot view. No. He's everything I wouldn't want in a politician. Corporate, he's got no spine, just sniffs which way the winds blow, and he's sold out. Don't forget, he's sold out. The one guy that brought him to the dance, that's Trump. He sold him out.
272-9228. Trump also kind of put him out there.
I brought you to the dance. You're here to support me.
272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services.
Good folks, Joe.
They're great folks. Actually, look forward to seeing them. I think we'll see them Thursday night at that,
excellent.
that
Well,
game
I think
we're
they're
going
coming
to.
out to one of our properties. I think tomorrow they're coming out to service the property.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Wait, the one in question?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
I like this. Yeah, and Pest Pro Services, folks, I mean, they're your friends. They're your neighbors.
They're great folks, man.
They help out so many people here in the River region, and they've been doing it for years. Ashley's put together a great team. Not only that are easy to work with, talk to, get to know, but they're really good at their jobs.
Very good at
Each
their jobs.
person on the staff has a specialty, whether it's taking care of termites or taking care of mosquitoes, or maybe you got cockroaches out the wazoo, maybe you got a wasp nest in the attic there, subterranean yellow jackets.
No fun.
What is the one, like, creepy worm, silverfish?
That silverfish, or, Joe, you could have those wood scorpions. I'm seeing more of them around, buddy.
Yeah, you don't want any of that. So if you do realize, hey, I've got an emergency problem,
Yeah.
Pest Pro Services has your back. But it'd be better to not have an emergency in the first place, right? So
I
why
agree.
not just make Pest Pro your everyday pest control company? They'll come by on a regular basis, make sure you're jam up and jelly tight, and get the job done for you.
And that's what I'm doing. They're coming out to look at this new property. They're going to kind of do the once over, of course, service it, but they're also going to say, okay, Eddie, this is the plan we need to follow to keep this place jam up and jelly tight, as you say.
So give them a call today, 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro, Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and the team that Joey and Eddie from News and Views in the afternoon sent you. Jam up and jelly tight. I'm not even sure where I got that from.
I don't know. You kind of use it a lot. You got me going.
Lately, I've been using it. You know, I had an instrumental that I made in college. It's long lost. A computer crashed. I lost a lot of music.
Yeah.
But it was like a heavy guitar solo, like big bass line, this sort of thing. But it was just a jam. No real concept to it, just a vamp. And I think the title of it is "Why Do I Need Jelly When I Can Jam?" So I come by it honestly, I suppose.
Yeah, you do.
It's not cool. I never claimed to be cool.
All right, buddy, that's cool.
Not cool. What is cool?
Cool is just a state of mind, Joey.
Just a state of mind.
Just a state of mind.
Because when I see the cool people, I'm often like,
they're usually not the cool ones. They're usually the ones.
well, how'd you get that stick up your butt?
They're usually on the ones that are having on the brink of it, like a anxiety attack.
No, seriously, some people who are cool, it's like that bug must have crawled their backside and died. You need to call Pest Pro.
Happens.
265-9990. Here, let's hit a break. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Who's there? It's Bill, the electrician, here to make your home burglar-proof.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought maybe you were an intruder.
No, ma'am. I'm a burglar's worst nightmare.
If your house doesn't have sufficient outdoor lighting, it's a prime target for intruders. That's why you should call Crosby Electric today.
How's it going, Bill?
Just fine, ma'am. See, when your intruder trips this wire, it grabs him by the foot and hangs him upside down.
Really?
The experts at Crosby Electric will install lighting that not only discourages intruders, but also makes it safer for you and your guests to navigate around steps, pools, and other tripping hazards.
Bill, is that contraption safe?
Oh, sure. It's disarmed now, but...
Bill!
Like I said, I'm a burglar's worst nightmare.
I see.
You mind cutting me down, ma'am?
Avoid your worst nightmare. Call the outdoor lighting experts at Crosby Electric or visit crosbyelectric.com.
Hey, we're talking to Tammy. Tammy, why does everybody loves Mama's Produce?
Goodness, there's a whole lot of reasons to love Mama's Produce. We got ice cream. Man, have we got some fresh peas. We've got fresh limas. We've got watermelons, tomatoes. There's a whole lot of reasons to love Mama's.
And Tammy, I understand you got some fantastic watermelons.
Actually, right now I've got in some yellow meat, some sugar babies, some seedless, and I've got some jubilees that just came in.
And of course, Tammy, you keep everybody up to date on your Facebook page.
We try to stay engaged on Facebook, and if I don't answer you on Facebook or Messenger, I'll sit down at the end of the day and go through them.
Tammy, that sounds good. Now tell us where you are.
We're at 1154 South Memorial Drive in Prattville. That's about a half a mile south of the Midtown McDonald's, attached to Prattville Farm Center and right across from Pick Enterprise. Yep, we close at 5:30 Monday through Friday and Saturday at 2.
Everybody loves Mama's.
Do you have a cell phone or tablet that isn't charging, dying fast, or maybe the screen is damaged? Don't get suckered into buying a new one. XI Repair can fix your current device same day and in under 30 minutes. Their certified technicians fix and recover data from thousands of cell phones, computers, tablets, game consoles, and drones 7 days a week. Give them a call today at 334-777-1234 or visit them online at xirepair.com. Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Now, apparently the United States government has just launched a ICBM, unarmed ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, and it's to test nuclear capabilities amid tensions with North Korea. Test launch of the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missiles meant to ensure safety, security, effectiveness, and readiness of the weapon system, Vandenberg Space Force Base says.
Those things ain't cheap, Joey.
So this was out of California. The purpose of the ICBM test launch program is to validate and verify safety, security, effectiveness, yada, 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 of the weapon system. The airmen and guardians who perform this vital mission are some of the most skillfully trained and dedicated personnel in America's Air Force. I wouldn't deny that.
Of course.
In fact, I might know somebody in the family who used to do this. It was before the Minuteman III, but, you know, when you're stationed at a Strategic Air Command headquarters and you're having to do maintenance in a silo, you might know a little something about it.
Don't know what you're talking about.
But, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with these being some of the most highly trained folks. These test launches demonstrate the readiness of U.S. nuclear forces and provide confidence in the lethality and effectiveness of the nation's nuclear deterrent. Really is insane, it's still, at the end of the day. But you can't uninvent something.
No, you can't, but are we a third world nation now where we need to blow off steam every once in a while?
Just to remind folks, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan issued a stern warning North Korea during a press briefing on Tuesday responding to reports that dictator Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin may meet in person. Quote, "This is not going to reflect well on North Korea, and they will pay a price for this in the international community," Sullivan said. "We will continue to call on North Korea to abide by its public commitments not to supply weapons to Russia that will end up killing Ukrainians." National Security spokesman John Kirby said late last week that arms negotiations between the two U.S. adversaries were actively advancing. Putin wants North Korea to supply Russia with artillery shells and anti-tank missiles. In exchange, Kim Jong-un wants Russia to give North Korea advanced technology for satellites and nuclear-powered submarines. This is according to the New York Times. Additionally, Kim wants food aid for a starving nation. Russia has rebuffed questions about the talks over Kremlin spokesman, guy who really is a slimy figure. You know, we got our own slimy figures, but have you seen Dmitry Peskov?
Oh, yeah. Dmitry?
Oh, what a weasel. I mean, smart.
He's just on the other side of it, that's all.
No, he's just like our propaganda. Like, what a awful weasel. That guy. Just, you get that feeling around him.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing when you see Putin. Like, if you watch Putin in a long-form setting, you get the impression, number one, the guy is quite intelligent, but you also get something creepy about the guy.
Remember when he stole the Super Bowl ring?
Oh, yeah. He's got this, there is this gangsterish streak in Russia still.
And he knows he can get away with it.
That's just the nature of it. You know, I was seeing watching a podcast last night, Eric Weinstein on Chris Williamson's podcast. Great production. Just what an incredible conversation. When a conversation really flows and it's laughter, but deep point, it was just fantastic. But Weinstein made this point that they were talking about Conor McGregor and Habib and that fight and all the smack talk that was going on. And he's like, did Conor McGregor not understand that, like, we in the West and, like, we talk trash all the time. Like, this is part of sports. I personally didn't like to do it. I would mess with somebody's head if I knew I could, but just talking trash, like, you're just asking for it back. But it never offended me if somebody said something about my mother or whatever. It's like, okay, very cool of you for saying that. Thanks, man. Very sweet. And a lot of Westerners know this is part of the game.
Right, it's just part of it.
But if you're from Dagestan or from a lot of parts of Russia and somebody says something about your mother,
that's fighting words there, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take it the same way whatsoever. Yes. And so when I see the Russians, even at the highest level, smart people, I'm like, yeah, these are different types of people. Yeah. They have different values at the end of the day, or they emphasize different ones. So it's a terrible time to see all this going down. If I can find this real quick, actually, you know how we had Napolitano on yesterday? Yeah. Well, he had on, as he previewed, Doug McGregor on his show.
Right.
And he asked Doug McGregor straight up about this. And McGregor for a while has been saying, hey, Putin will start using horizontal deterrence against the United States when and where he can. And this will be because, well, it's not just, hey, we're going to show off and saber rattle ourselves. We can cause problems in South America, in Mexico, in Cuba, in North Korea. We can cause a lot of headaches for y'all. We're going to work with the Saudis to keep the price of oil up. All these things. Yeah, so it's not like they don't have any cards that they can run and jump to. But I want to go right here, kind of guesstimate where this is. I watched it last night, and it fits this topic almost perfectly. So I believe this is Colonel Doug McGregor talking to Judge Napolitano about, well, this latest meeting between Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin and these arms negotiations.
Kim Jong-un of North Korea are going to meet in Vladivostok soon. Also talk to us, if you will, about the revelation of the supplying of ICBMs by Russia to North Korea, none of which, the latter, appears in the mainstream media in the U.S.
We have to go back to the meeting between President Trump and Chairman Kim in Hanoi. You'll recall that before Kim went to Hanoi, he made a trip to Beijing, and he met with Mr. Xi, the president, and Xi made it clear to him that his job was to go to Hanoi and sign the agreement. That agreement was a very good agreement, very important one, because it led inevitably to the denuclearization of North Korea, and with it, the denuclearization of the peninsula. People do not understand the long-term relationship between China and North Korea. It's very troubled. The Chinese were very unhappy when the Russians encouraged the North Koreans to attack South Korea in 1950. They were not consulted. They did not advocate that. That was something forced upon them by Stalin. They then had to bail out the North Koreans because obviously the Russians did not want to be directly involved in a confrontation with us. The Chinese didn't want that either, and they fought, the whole thing to a standstill. They did very well against us, but they took horrible losses, and ultimately we were back where we started the war. Ever since then, we've managed to avoid collisions with the Chinese, even under sometimes very strange circumstances. North Korea remained after that primarily a Russian client state. Russia has always thrown a lifeline to North Korea, not China. China supports North Korea under extreme protest. Chinese do not like the North Koreans. I don't think the Chinese like Koreans anyway, and the Koreans don't particularly care for Chinese. But North Korea has been a state that was seen by Moscow as having some strategic value.
I'll pause it there because that one point he just made, I don't think it's any secret, though we might forget it, that like the Japanese, the Koreans, the Chinese, they don't like each other, and that animosity, throw in the Philippines, throw in Thailand, throw in Vietnam.
Throwing gas on the fire.
That goes back thousands of years, right? Yeah. So let's not forget that, especially with the talk of nuclear proliferation. But again, this is retired Colonel Douglas McGregor on this whole meeting between Putin and Kim Jong-un.
A way to offset its weakness in other parts of the world, and essentially to distract us and potentially send a message to the Japanese that if they are contemplating any return in the near future to the continent and contemplating a potential conflict with Russia, that Russia holds the upper hand in North Korea and is close enough to do enormous damage. The Chinese, when Mr. Trump raised the bet, so to say, and sent forces to South Korea, it was very straightforward in his threats. The Chinese made it very clear to Mr. Kim that if they started something against the West, against Japan, against South Korea, against the United States, that they were on their own. China would not come to their assistance if they started a war. On the other hand, they did confirm that if North Korea were attacked by us, by Japan, by South Korea, that the Chinese would then support North Korea. Things have changed. Remember, Mr. Putin tried for many, many years to fashion, create, groom, cultivate a better relationship with the West, particularly with a series of presidents. That has failed. He had hopes for President Trump, but President Trump proved unable to master Washington. Washington mastered President Trump. And I think President Putin reached a conclusion that he can't really depend on anybody who comes to power in Washington, because the power of the city itself, federal bureaucracy, the parties that occupy the proverbial swamp is so great that no president can come in and turn it around. Putin and his predecessors have always supplied the North Koreans with just enough technology to make North Korea look dangerous. Until now. And now Putin has done something that has never happened before. He has provided them with the capability to strike us on the North American continent. Now, why would he do that? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. We have pursued a policy of reckless hatred towards Russia in Ukraine. We have said that we will accept nothing less than the destruction of Russia. He has to conclude that we're serious, that there's no hope for negotiation with Washington. Remember, from the very beginning, many of us warned that the Russians have the potential for horizontal escalation.
Right.
So they can make life miserable for us in Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Korea, Syria, elsewhere. What you're seeing is horizontal escalation. Now, will North Korea launch a weapon against us? No. They understand that they will be incinerated and they will not have China's backing. But China right now has serious economic problems, very serious economic problems. China is in no position to fight a war and doesn't want to. And so the Chinese, who would normally have said, no, don't do this, Vladimir, we don't want those weapons in the hands of the North Koreans, they've relented. And they've let Mr. Putin essentially make the call that now is the time to provide North Korea with sufficient destructive power that it will cause us to back away from anything we may be contemplating against Russia or China.
Again, that's Colonel Douglas McGregor. He's a regular guest on Judge Andrew Napolitano's show. Check out Judging Freedom if you want to watch the whole interview. That's just scratching the surface, about a 20-minute conversation between those two. And it's sobering, is it not, Eddie?
Very sobering. Not a surprise, but again, I can see where Putin's coming from. And the guy was exactly right. Washington is no longer just a state. It is as much as a political activist as anything. So whatever president we get in is constantly going to be influenced by that city.
Oh, yeah, no, and you can, if you listen to the critique of the United States from other parts of the world, one of the ones that rings true to me, there are a lot that don't ring true, but one of the ones that rings true to me is that whether it's Xi or Putin or Erdogan in Turkey, whoever, you're not dealing with Barack Obama or Donald Trump.
Right.
Or even George W. You're dealing with the national security state of the United States that's pretty permanent. And despite no matter who the president is, there's some difference in personality and approach and whatever. But generally speaking, presidents don't fully run the show like we think under the Constitution. And there are a lot of folks having tried to negotiate with presidents over the years who get that.
Well, and unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, these other leaders, they're in there for life. So they don't have to worry
They'll bide their time.
Right. Okay, you got
the
a
next
jerk
election.
in here for now. Yeah, we'll just play around with you guys, and when the next y'all's next big man comes up, we'll see if he can work with us.
No, in a way, I think what we need is a president that is seeking American interest and seeking peace around the world. It doesn't hurt that you got some hawks maybe on your team. Doesn't hurt that if you got some hawks like Lindsey Graham in the Senate. Those folks can make loud noises and scare other people. But I don't think they've been running the show for too long.
That's just it. They're no longer just voices.
They're not useful anymore.
No.
Like we keep doing the same thing and expect different results, which is, well, literally insanity.
Yes.
This part of the program brought to you by River Region Contracting, and, well, they're great folks there. Todd Clark and his team, they're ready to help you with that roof of yours. Yes, River Region Contracting is the premier roofing contractor here in the River Region. So whether it's an asphalt or a metal roof, it should be inspected every 3 to 5 years for basic preventative maintenance. And even if you did have it recently inspected, but you're worried like a tree fell on it or you heard bumps in the middle of the night, storms, so you're a little worried something is messed up now, well, call up River Region Contracting, 356-8635. And here's the good news. Their inspections and estimates are always free.
Absolutely free.
And they're a team of insurance specialists. So if they do find a problem, God forbid, that your insurance company might pay for, they can walk you through that claims process.
They can help you out with that.
Especially with something like storm damage, they're smart in this way. They don't immediately, as soon as they find a problem, run to the insurance company.
Right.
Now, what they do is they get the full warp and woof of, like, maybe sometimes literally warp, of what's going on with your roof. Then they contact them. They've done this before. It ain't their first rodeo.
Exactly right, Joey.
So call up River Region Contracting today, the River Region's premier roofing contractor, at 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell Todd Clark and the team there that Joey and Eddie from News and Views in the afternoon sent you. More News and Views after this quick break.
Not know whether he's coming or going. But whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Actor portrayal, based on a real patient experience.
I'm Mike. I'm a husband, proud father of 2, work my butt off 6 days a week, some nights too. When my family or my company needs me to make it happen, I make it happen. But a few months ago, I started having trouble making in the bedroom. I tried some pills online, but they didn't work. Honestly, I thought about throwing in the towel on my sex life, but I'm not that old. I still want to enjoy intimacy with my wife. Like that poet said, I don't want to just go gently into that good night. So I went to Montgomery Men's Health. I got some lab work and a urologist prescribed me some meds. Wow, it made it happen. I can't say enough good about them. They took care of me, followed up, and made adjustments to make it happen even better. I even learned I had low testosterone, which they were also treating me for. And I have never felt better. If I were you and you're like me, I'd give them a call today at 334-440-3663 or go to montgomerymenshealth.com. If you're like most guys, they'll make it happen for you too.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network, brought to you by Alabama Wholesale Lumber. Alabama Wholesale Lumber, serving the river region with the best quality building materials for decades. Contractor to do-it-yourselfer. Call Alabama Wholesale Lumber.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big weather concerns for us for the next few days, but summer heat rolls on. Today's high temperature up to about 96 will be near or above 100 on the heat index. Sunshine will dominate, mostly clear tonight, low 71. Tomorrow, high in the mid-90s again, but an approaching front will bring at least a small risk of thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Then behind the front on Friday and Saturday, somewhat lower humidity. Lots of sunshine, still 94 Friday, 93 Saturday, and not much change Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Web Bobo with Capital Tractor. For work at your hunting camp or a job site, you need a utility vehicle you can depend on. The Kubota Sidekick from Capital Tractor, power to haul and top speeds of 40 miles per hour. Kubota and Capital Tractor in Montgomery, Brundage, and Greenville.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Welcome back. Oh, there's old crow, old cocaine Mitch. They're claiming he didn't have a stroke.
What was it, just a pause?
Yeah, I mean, he just got a little, he was caught up in a little bit of whimsy. He was remembering the old times, the old days.
I don't know if you ever know
he doesn't look like a healthy man.
No,
he does. He looks weak, like he's been through something pretty serious. So.
And a lot of makeup on. I don't know if you know, though, Joey, but the government, especially the U.S. government, bad to lie to you. So when he says he's healthy...
I wasn't the biggest fan of Richard Shelby, but at least he got out of town. He realized I'm too old to do this.
Yeah, this one, and we got one out of California.
Oh, Feinstein's even worse. Feinstein's like brain dead.
Right. I mean, her daughter has POA. So I am glad that this is coming to light because we, as American people, need to realize you can't have 90-year-olds running your country and wondering what the hell's going on.
So if McConnell goes away, it's going to be somebody like that fellow in that bright blue. That's a nice suit.
That is a nice suit. But it takes up some space, don't it?
Tall man. I think that's John Thune. And Thune, I've been told by people who know, is very much in the running to take over leadership.
Nice guy, looking guy and all, but Joey, he ain't no for young chicken himself, man.
I don't know. They're all kind of out of central casting.
Right.
Well, other than like some of the newbies, like Kristen Sinema, kind of looks like an anime character.
I do like her.
Yeah, first openly bisexual member of the Senate.
Whatever floats your boat. I
mean, it's got my attention.
Of course it does. You're young and immature.
Exactly. And eventually I'll be old and immature. Yeah, like you.
Exactly.
I think this is how it works. Now, on this day in history, Eddie.
Oh, yeah?
I believe 240 years ago, the first Continental Congress met in Philadelphia.
Wow, 240 years ago.
On September the 5th, 1774, the first Continental Congress in the United States met in Philly to consider its reaction to the British government's restraints on trade and representative government after the Boston Tea Party. The group of colonial luminaries didn't meet in Independence Hall, which at the time was called the Pennsylvania State House.
Okay.
Instead, delegates selected by colonial legislatures met next door in Carpenter's Hall, which had just been constructed. The State House was already occupied by the Pennsylvania Provincial Assembly. The delegates gathered on the morning of September the 5th at Philadelphia's City Tavern, near Benjamin Franklin's home.
But of course, you wanted Ben to show up, didn't you?
You know, he had a lot of brilliant line. He invented a lot of things, but my thing about Franklin, my favorite thing, what a dirty dog.
Yes, he was.
Well, that's a dirty... it takes a dirty dog to want to figure out lightning. You know what I'm talking about?
Who else do you know that's ever taken a kite out in the middle of a thunderstorm, lightning storm, and then attach a key to it, Joey?
Franklin had remained in England, and he would deliver a petition from the first Congress to King George III in late 1774. The group then walked over to Carpenter's Hall to inspect the meeting room. They took a view of the room and of the chamber, where is an excellent library. The general cry was that this was a good room, and the question was put whether we were satisfied with this room, and it passed in the affirmative. That's John Adams.
This is a good room, Joey.
What a good room! The general cry was, that was a good room! In all, 56 delegates from 12 colonies came to Philadelphia for the meeting to address the coercive or intolerable acts. The laws were meant as punishment for the activities of the Boston Tea Party, but they affected all colonies. Neither Franklin nor Thomas Jefferson attended, but in addition to Adams, the delegates included Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death.
I love that guy.
This be treason, make the most of it. That guy was fiery.
Mm-hmm.
Roger Sherman, John Jay, John Dickinson, Richard Henry Lee, George Washington, and John Adams' cousin, Samuel Adams.
Sam Adams?
By the way, when you look at what Sam Adams and his rebels were doing, yeah, they were rebels.
They were rebels, weren't they?
Like, to the point of even the folks who are kind of down with their cause are like, hey guys, relax.
A little bit
much? I think y'all you're not seeking for justice. I think you're just like tar and feathering people.
There's nothing wrong with a good tar and feathering.
No, once you see it, that's pretty gruesome stuff.
I think we need to bring that back. Let's re-educate the world on why we don't do tar and feathering
I don't like
anymore.
the public spectacle, public punishment. There's something satanic about it.
You like doing it in private, do you?
Yes. Yeah, I prefer to watch my killing in private. After about 7 weeks of debates, the group agreed to a boycott of British goods within the colonies as a sign of protest spelled out in the Articles of Association. In addition to the boycott, the articles called for an end of exports to Great Britain in the following year if the intolerable acts weren't repealed. The First Continental Congress also made plans to convene a Second Continental Congress in May 1775 to continue the work started in Philadelphia if the intolerable acts remained in force. Well, of course, you know that they did meet again. The British didn't relent, really. And we're now...
But they learned their lesson, though, didn't they, Joey?
Man, and it seems more and more... Have you seen, like, these colorized old videos that they keep putting out? Some from, like, the late 1800s, like in Paris at the World's Fair.
Yeah, I saw
that one. The one I recently saw, it was completely colorized. It looked like it was in 4K HD. Was New York in the 20s. And it looks like a foreign country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so much of the stuff you look back, like, we inherited a lot of stuff from these folks, but we are not the same people.
Oh, no.
And I think we've got a lot of folks making that mistake up there in running Washington, D.C. They act like they're their fathers and grandfathers. They ain't.
Most of those folks have not produced anything.
No, they just know how to manage things, Eddie.
I don't even know if they're that.
And actually, you don't get on your idealistic, like, naive, immature mind wanting to actually solve problems. You don't solve these sorts of problems. You manage them. Because when you try to solve them, but when you solve them, you really mess up. If you just manage it, you can kind of just keep going. Maintain.
Now you sound like the pharmaceutical industry.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
This part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. It's been a while since we've seen Kim or Madeline.
It sure
We need
has.
to get them
In
back
fact,
in
I've
here.
got something in my briefcase for Madeline. I sure hope to see her one day soon so I can give this to her. I'm really looking forward to seeing her in the studio because she brings such a pleasant, it's like an aura around her of just niceness. And especially after dealing with you all morning, it's nice to see her come in. And Kim Williams, for that matter, one of the most educated person I know in the mortgage business. Whenever I've got mortgage questions, whether it's something about VA, whether it's something about a conventional loan, I can call her. And I hate saying it, but I'll call her any time of the night. She answers my questions, and because she knows I've got a client on the other end waiting for that answer.
They're very attentive, folks. I mean, the personal level there, like that personal touch they have. This is a big part of why Alabama Home Mortgage is so great. Of course, they can get you the best rates in town, the best
Certainly.
possible deal in town. But they're local. They actually get to know you, get to know them. And it's not just personal. It's like, okay, get to know your actual intimate goals of what you want to do with refinancing or buying a home.
They even contacted Susanna yesterday and told her happy birthday.
See, they're that
they're
good.
very personal.
Right. And, of course, they can help you with buying a home, whether you're walking through the home buying process for the first time from
Right.
pre-approval all the way to closing day. They can walk with you every step of the way.
Sure can.
And, of course, they can also help you with a great refinance deal. A lot of folks dealing with a lot of debt, especially credit card debt these
Exactly
days.
right.
So why not have Alabama Home Mortgage get you set up to where you get that debt off your back and use your mortgage to do it?
Guarantee it to be a better rate.
Oh,
Guarantee
yeah.
it.
Oh, seeing credit card APRs?
Right. I guarantee it.
Yeah, mortgage rates are up too.
Not like this, though.
So y'all check out Alabama Home Mortgage today. That number, 567-4223, 567-4223, or you can visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. More news and views after this very quick break.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for waterproof carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
During Prattville Carpet's summer sale, you can get Mohawk waterproof flooring, regularly priced at $11 per foot installed, right now priced at $7 per foot installed. That's huge summer savings. And get interest-free financing for up to 12 months with approved credit. Call 285-8117 or visit PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
Live local talk. The River Region's only 24-hour News Talk FM station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Coming up again, we have a Democratic perspective from State Representative Philip Insler. He'll be in studio coming up about all sorts of the near future of Alabama politics, but in particular all this redistricting back and forth that we're seeing. Always good to understand where everybody's coming from. Now, normally at this time, we would be talking on the phone to Michael Cohen of Cohen's Electronics and Appliances, but he is predisposed today. He's actually, I think, taking some time off, which he very much deserves. Hardworking man over there, Michael Cohen is. And folks, when you think of Cohen's Electronics and Appliances, well, a lot of you might remember the record shop. A lot of you might actually have family members that go back 30, 40, 50, even 60 years of working with the Cohen's family. They're that good there. And of course, they have these great products at Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Say you're tired of the old coil electric stovetop.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to go to like that, like gas top. Ooh.
Very nice.
Or what's the other one?
Well, you've got the glass flat tops, but honestly, and I've got electric stove. I'm really good leaning towards gas. I'm really thinking about going towards gas. And most people I talk to that have cooked a while, they seem to be wanting the same thing. Electric is awfully convenient, and I guess sometimes it's safer. But I enjoy cooking better with gas. Just seems to cook a lot better.
Or maybe, isn't it a terrible thing when like that washing machine goes out?
Dude.
Ooh.
Yes.
Or it could be something really fun, folks. It could be, hey, I want a new big TV, or I want a new kick-butt sound system. Or I really want to soup up the back porch with a sound system and TV. Maybe new seating arrangements. They've got it all there at Cohen's Electronics and Appliances.
Joey, the right woman, she'll get excited over a washing machine too now. Don't sell her short.
Not in the way I was thinking. So you'll check out Cohen's Electronics and Appliances today. You can always go to thinkcohens.com. Thinkcohens.com. Again, we're just scratching the surface and all the great products they have there at Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. But you can always also call them at 277-8890 or just stop by there, 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. And folks, it's not just these great products, but it's that service after the sale. There at Cohen's, they deliver confidence. So check them out today. Final hour of news and views on a Wednesday coming up.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Authorities say a recently convicted murderer who escaped in suburban Pennsylvania this week was spotted on residential surveillance cameras in an area not far from the county jail. According to the Chester County District Attorney's Office, 34-year-old Danilo Cavalcante was sighted around 12:30 a.m. Saturday in Pocopson Township. Prosecutors say Cavalcante is an extremely dangerous person. The head of the United Auto Workers warning that the union plans to go on strike against any Detroit automaker that hasn't reached a new agreement by the time contracts expire next week. The strike could cause damage not only to the industry but also to the Midwest economy. On Wall Street, the Dow is down nearly 200 points, the Nasdaq losing 166. This is SRN News.
Weaving its way through the heart of the Holy Land is a well-worn path that once felt the footsteps of our biblical faith heroes, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, King David, and Jesus. Join David Friedman and Mike Pompeo for a sacred journey of hope along Route 60, the biblical highway. It's a close-up look at the land of the Bible as you've never seen it. In theaters September 18th and 19th, it's Route 60, the biblical highway. Get tickets now at Route60.movie. That's Route60.movie.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
Rich Thomas Weather is brought to you by JB Windows and Siding. Call Jones Brothers. You'll be glad you did.
JB Windows and Siding has what you're looking for. Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. No big weather concerns for us for the next few days, but summer heat rolls on. Today's high temperature up to about 96 will be near or above 100 on the heat index. Sunshine will dominate, mostly clear tonight, low 71. Tomorrow, high in the mid-90s again, but an approaching front will bring at least a small risk of thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Then behind the front on Friday and Saturday, somewhat lower humidity. Lots of sunshine, still 94 Friday, 93 Saturday, and not much change Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
1819 News.
U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville is now calling President Joe Biden Pinocchio Joe, and Tuberville is digging even deeper into his hold on military promotions within the Department of Defense. Tuberville spoke about it all on Newsmax.
This is my prerogative to be able to put a hold on anything. I mean, I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm tired of Pinocchio Joe legislating from the White House. 60% of the people of this country, Greg, say that we should not spend one dime of taxpayer money towards abortion. And so that's the Democrats and Republicans. So I'm fighting for both sides here. And if we're going to have some kind of different abortion policy in the military, it's going to take a vote on the Senate floor. Again, if I was affecting the military of the United States of America, which I respect and which I love and which I believe in, I wouldn't be doing this, but it is not affecting it. I've talked to generals and admirals every day. There's no problem with readiness. It's a bunch of pundits out there thinking that they know what's going on, and they don't. And so there's no way they're going to talk me out of this. We're going to have holes for a long, long time, and they can just get used to it.
I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Covenant Rescue Group seeks to directly support organizations and agencies that are fighting the global battle against human trafficking. They do this through funding, procuring, and advocating. You can go to covenantrescue.org for further details. They need your donations, guys. Hop on and donate.
The names of 2 women killed in a nightclub shooting in Birmingham are now released. 24-year-old Markezia Atkins and 33-year-old Shavita Willis died at UAB Hospital. Birmingham police believe that the 2 women were innocent bystanders in the shooting. 3 others were also injured on that Labor Day shooting. No arrests have been made at this time. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Looking for a new job in food service? Check out Riverside Marketplace, a new food hall coming to Wind Creek, Wetumpka. We've got 50 line cook positions open with flexible hours, competitive pay, and generous paid time off. Stop by our job fair Thursday, September 7th from 2 to 7 p.m. and see why Wind Creek was voted a top 10 employer in Alabama by Forbes magazine. Or visit the Career Center Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Come cook up a new career today.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark. Eddie Bader here, but as promised, we have State Representative Philip Insler here in the studio. How you doing, Philip?
I'm good. We were just talking about how hot it is, so it's good to be inside a little bit. But even, with air conditioning.
At half power here in the studio. But good to see you. You're technically my state rep, right? I believe so. I'm in your district.
I think you are. I don't want to give out your street to all your listeners, but what general neighborhood?
No, I'm on Little John and Forestills.
Okay, there you go. Yep. So, then I'm here both, it's just to talk about the news, but also as your representative.
Well, and it's been a while since we've talked to a Democratic voice, like a state voice. And so, how do you think Alabama's doing? I'm going to ask you a big, broad question. It's a target-rich environment. How do you think we're doing?
Considering how the first football weekend went, with Alabama winning, Auburn winning, ASU winning, I don't want to leave out any other schools, but I know those are the three that are most rooted on. So in that sense, our state is in a good place right now. Look, I think like anywhere, there are things that are going really well, and then there are things that are really challenging. People understandably every day we were just talking about air conditioning, and people's air goes out, and trying to pay to fix that, or try to pay the groceries, or pay for expenses that those are things that are tough, and I'm sure we can get into some of those of what the different policies are in them, but no, in Alabama they're overall we're doing well, but there are things that are challenging. There are things that we certainly need to work through and continue to make it a great place for everyone.
Yeah, and I think we've got a lot of great assets and great people here in the state. But we could start on this. Recently, the gas tax, or not the gas tax, that all went up, and the one I'm actually thinking of is the grocery tax reduction just went into effect. And do you think that was the right place they landed with it being indexed against growth in the ETF, or should it have been more or less? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I'm really glad it passed. It was a long time coming, and I will give on the Democratic side, for years, John Knight and others were pushing for that. I'm glad the Lieutenant Governor really, then championed it this year. But credit, have to give credit where credit is due. Where who's been advocating for it for a long time, but to see Democrats and Republicans, rally around it and get it done. I mean, that shows that when we are able to put aside at times some of the divisiveness and focus on, well, what are the things that benefit and impact everyone. That was a big concern, though, of that if you take away the revenue stream, if you take away the grocery tax, of what does it mean, for the education budget. So I think it was smart to do it in a way where we monitor, the impact of it, moving forward. But overall, I know, in our district, people of all political backgrounds and views, just we're really wanting to see it go away or at least reduce. So we're moving in the right direction, but certainly, need to be mindful of the impact of it, from a revenue standpoint.
No, and I thought that was something that I needed to get done. When I see like API and Arise both pushing for the same end goal, I'm like, all right, like we need to get this done. Those are two different, supposedly opposite points of view. But you just talking about this and how leadership did work together on this across the parties. We report on how Connie Rowe, I believe, gave Republicans the talk as freshmen, like essentially before you command, learn to obey, giving some old knowledge there. So I guess you've had to experience your first term and how you're working within your own party, working within the legislature. But what is it like, going in there knowing, okay, we're in the minority, but we're going to still try to get things done, advance our interests. I'm not looking for all the inside baseball, but it's more like, you're going in there not being able to get anything you want done. You're going to have to work with the Republicans. So is it about finding those things in the middle, or is it more finding those particular wedge issues? What's going to happen?
Yeah, and I'll say this, I'll to Leader Daniels on the, minority side, I've always been the guidance I've been given is always, vote your conscience, vote how you feel, vote what's best for your district. Never, vote, along party lines, or vote for, or you're going to get in trouble if you, vote this way or don't vote that way. And that's been a very empowering and liberating feeling to know that, ultimately I report to, people that live in District 74, and that I'm going to vote in a way that I feel is best. And there are, times where I voted on things that, there were times I was the only Democrat. There are times that, things do fall along party lines, but then there are, I think the things that get the news attention the most are the ones that are those party line votes. Yeah. But and I'd be interested to see what the statistical, or numerical breakdown was, but I would venture to say that most of the votes actually are overwhelmingly bipartisan. It's just that that's the stuff that kind of quickly gets passed, doesn't necessarily make it, in the news every day. And I found in my first session that there are certainly issues that there are strong differences, and that in the Democratic caucus, we are going to get up and do all that we can to point out why something is arguably illegal or unconstitutional or bad public policy. And knowing that the votes are there on the Republican side to pass it, but just making those arguments and having that dialogue. I will give a lot of credit to Speaker Ledbetter, for often allowing for long debate. Sure. There have been times that it's gotten cut off, sooner than we would have liked, and there are times where we would have liked more time, under the House rules or under, the debate process to, be able to have more time to consider something. But overall, he really, has been great about allowing, that kind of exchange of ideas. And look, even, no matter who it is, even if I've gotten up and strongly disagreed on certain bills, it always ends with a handshake. It always ends with,
Good.
I appreciate it. And that's how it should be. And It doesn't have to be that, okay, well, you're evil and I hate you because, we disagreed on something. And as a new member and as a freshman, I've appreciated that a lot. That's been the way it has gone. And again, that's not always the stuff that makes it in the news or on camera. I will say, as far as, passing bills, it is, our system is set up in a way that it should be somewhat difficult to pass something. It shouldn't be that as a freshman I just come in and all of a sudden, can throw out a bunch of bills and they get passed. So this first year, I learned that, the relationships that having, especially with committee members, so the chairs, but also everyone on that committee to, try to earn their vote and talk through what the bill is, but focus on where there is common ground. Look, I think that there are certain things that make sense to introduce to really show that, people want to know that I'm trying and fighting. But a lot of the bills and things that I've introduced around community safety, things dealing with mental health, conflict resolution, those are things where there is bipartisan support, and I just know continuing to work with leadership, with committee members, to do that and, can hopefully get some stuff passed.
Now, you mentioned that there were a few votes where you were like the only or one of the few Democrats. What can you give an example of?
Yeah, there was one, and I knew you were going to ask that. It was dealing with some just cleanups to the charter school bill and around the way that commission is set up and funded. And I've shared this a lot. People know I taught at Lee High School through the Teach for America program. I am a staunch supporter and proponent of our public schools, especially our traditional public schools. But looking at the charter school bill and talking to some of the experts that were working on it, including the governor's office, to me, the proposals or the changes that they were talking about made sense. And, being able to have that conversation and just say, look, this doesn't have to be a Democrat or Republican issue.
Right. Well, you have experience in that, so why wouldn't you be able to speak to it?
Exactly right. And I viewed it from that perspective of, well, as a former classroom teacher, as someone who worked in public schools, I don't think this is a bad thing. And, I didn't worry or fear, oh my gosh, if I'm the only Democratic name that, lights up in favor of it, that I'm going to, get reprimanded or it's going to become an issue. And that's, again, an empowering feeling to know that, I can vote just what I think is best and, go about it that way.
Well, and it sounded like you mentioned, and again, folks are talking to State Representative Philip Insler. He's my representative there in District 74. Is there something that you personally, it sounded like you mentioned it with mental health and other community safety stuff, but you personally went in there saying, I want to get this done, and you would call it a success after this first session?
Yeah, so I was able to, with Chairman Garrett, Danny Garrett, who chairs the House Education budget, get for what we call a pilot program, some funding to work on conflict resolution training in Montgomery Public Schools. So, obviously there are, teachers from different subject matters, there are guidance counselors, there are school resource officers, but this little bit of funding, what it'll do is allow Montgomery Public Schools to have a few additional counselors that will really focus on working with students who maybe have disciplinary issues, behavioral issues, on channeling some of that anger, dealing with it in a better way. And, to get that in the budget, it's a small amount, in the scheme of the whole budget, but to get that in there, especially my first year, and, a lot of credit, to Chairman Garrett for, willing to hear me out, meet about it and get it in there. And, I'll say this part, that yes, of course it starts at home. Parents, families need to, raise their children the right way. They need to, teach them all the right values. It shouldn't be up to just the schools to, instill those values 100%. And discipline, but to the reality, to the extent that it is a reality, I think having some of those coaches, especially in what we call our higher risk schools, that I think will make a difference. And, that wasn't some sweeping big policy change. It's, not, going to all of a sudden stop all or address all of the issues in schools or in the community. But I think those small things, and then we can show that it'll work. And that way, hopefully expand that into to other schools.
Well, but progress of a kind on the margins, anything helps. And in a second, I want to get into all this news about redistricting and the court fights and whatnot. But I also saw a story from Speaker Ledbetter. He was making noises. I don't know if it was on Capitol Journal or somewhere else, but gambling, I think, is definitely going to come up in the next session. Where are you at on just that broad issue?
Yeah, and I think his comments were, it's, gambling is happening, and the question is, are we going to keep it illegal or legalize it? Look, I'm all for a state lottery. We all know people who cross state lines to go buy lottery tickets.
Yes, we do.
And, we can live in denial. We can live in a fantasy world and say, oh, well, we shouldn't do it. But if the reality is that people want to buy lottery tickets, they're going to buy them in other places. It's, hundreds of millions of dollars that are out there that we could tap into. So, I fully support a state lottery. I would want to see the funding for that go, primarily for either educational purposes, and that could be a variety of things. Some states do where they have a state grant or tuition, and maybe in certain situations funding more of this kind of conflict resolution. That we can get into of the specifics. Secondly, if there were any left over, or there, if we couldn't get it just for education, I think for certain healthcare related costs, we obviously see a lot of hospitals, especially in rural areas, that are closing, and that impacts us right here in Montgomery, because if people in the Black Belt or people in outside of Montgomery, aren't able to, they're coming to our hospitals here
because they don't have one.
Right, and I think thinking about it, in that sense, is really important. And I know that one concern that comes up is, well, what about gambling addiction, and what about people then that are, abusing it or have an issue? Cigarettes are legal, alcohol is legal.
Pot's pretty much legal at this point.
Oh, come on, you stoner! It's not legal.
Really?
Yeah. By the way, it takes one to know one. I'm not insulting.
We'll have this conversation later.
Anyway,
and to that point, that there are things out there that are addictive and that are still legal, or that people have readily.
But we have resources available for those that have problems with it, and I think that's super important to do. And in every gambling facility I've ever been in, even in Wetumpka, a blind man can see the numbers. If you have a problem, here is the resource available. Right. So I think we're doing all we can in that department. I think a lot of it's held back because it's control. I can't control where that gambling money is going to go, or my buddy cannot control that gambling syndicate. I think that holds us back.
Right, and I think we have to, we claim to be a free country, and right, if people want to, decide how to spend their money, is it heartbreaking and really hard to think about people who maybe, will end up, spending all their money on gambling, but that doesn't mean that we don't do it just because there's some downsides to it. And I agree, we have to think about what is good for, the bigger picture and the whole, and for our state. And again, it doesn't mean that we should always go after any money that's out there, but this 100%. Makes sense to do it.
Now, would you go further than the lottery? And I'm thinking of like that bill before he left the legislature, Del Marsh dropped, where I always go back to this because it just, in the summary, before you get into the meat of the bill, it says we have to tamp down on the number of licenses and where it is in the state to preserve the aesthetic character of the state. So, we can't have too many casinos making it look like Pottersville. But it came across to me as like they're literally giving the game away to certain select locations before the people could ever vote on a thing, because it would have to go to a referendum or a general vote. So, do you go beyond lottery if something like that was presented? Are you from the get-go kind of like, no, or would you kind of entertain, maybe we could massage this and make it better?
Yeah, I think, a lottery, and then having, casinos, and I get it, for any sort of endeavor, having limitations or having some zoning restrictions, right? We don't want to, whether it's for retail, whether it's apartment buildings, whether it's houses, there's always things
nobody
to
wants a
consider.
casino in their neighborhood,
right? And
totally get that.
Be mindful of that, but I do think that having I understand why, especially historically, thinking about the priority given to the tribes, understanding all, especially the historical injustices and the money that was taken or they were deprived of, and it makes sense to still honor that. But I think we can do it in a way where we say, right, there can be an open process though, for others. I would want to see details and really there are a lot of specifics and weeds on it. I think as general guiding principles, though, having expanding lottery and gambling, to bring it kind of, as I say, out of the shadows or out of the woodwork, make it legal, make it that there is a way to collect tax revenue on it that could then benefit people in the whole state. I know in our caucus as well that thinking about that for that process of whether it's permits or for giving out some of those contracts, that also thinking about it in a way though that it's not just select favorites or certain people getting it, but thinking about that it's done in an open way.
That's where my mind goes is you can limit the amount of licenses, but let's have an open bid, a transparent process.
Be transparent.
And I really didn't like the setting of tax rates within the constitutional amendment itself, it tied the hands of future legislature. It was, I think, there's a reason it failed. But it's interesting. It's a true evergreen issue here in this state. As long as I've been doing talk radio for 12 years, And even before I started doing talk radio, I was just listening to local shows. This has been a topic.
It's a hot topic.
I mean, I can
always.
remember Dan Morris and Judge James Anderson arguing over whether or not a Coke machine could be classified as a slot machine.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like some of these arguments are just cartoonish at a certain point. But
I'm thinking about those games where the kids like where you pay and then it's like
the claw machine,
and it grabs.
That's
I
a
was
big
like, right?
scam.
Are you gambling there? Whether you
you're definitely going to lose.
Yeah,
Right.
you're definitely
Yeah.
going to lose.
Oh,
we
yeah,
need some
that's-
attention paid to that. That's a scam.
Well, we got to hit a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about what's in the news. I guess today what broke is the Attorney General, Steve Marshall, is going to appeal this recent court decision up to the Supreme Court. But we can get into all that. And we're going to get different districts, so it's going to change up Alabama politics. And at least it's something new, folks. I'll say that. First, this part of the program, again, brought to you by Pest Pro Services. You know, we talked about, Eddie, how you need to make them your everyday pest control company.
Yep.
And sometimes that's just basic, upkeep and check out your place. But maybe you want to lay down, like, say, a trap, bait for those termites.
Good idea.
Because it's always a sad day when you go, you accidentally, you thought, I'm going to stub my toe. I accidentally, wait, no, it goes right through the crown molding. It's like sawdust.
It's a sad day, Joey.
Yeah. And that's not like water rot or anything.
No.
No. Or you've been through the swarm, right?
Oh, yeah, when the termites will swarm. In fact, I've been through it a couple times now. But the worst is, as a property owner, when a tenant calls you at 2 in the morning and says, your house is possessed by the devil, and you ask for a video, and they send you what you think is a possession by the devil because it's all these termites or flying ants just swarming. It's
freaky stuff.
It is absolutely freaky.
So why not instead call up Pest Pro Services, 265-9990. They're the only company in the river region with the Termidor HP2 injection unit.
Mm-hmm.
Very impressive unit there.
Very impressive.
And so they bring the very best and newest technology to your home, folks, there at Pest Pro Services. Again, 265-9990. You can also always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. They have a very active Facebook page there. When you want to know, call a pro, Pest Pro Services, and be sure to tell Ashley and the team that you heard about them here on News and Views in the afternoon. More with State Rep Philip Insler when we come back.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Are you ready for game day? When cheering on your favorite team, you want to make sure your flooring is up to the task with a huge selection of the best flooring to choose from. Go to Carroll's Carpet Flooring America.
I'm so glad I decided to get new flooring. It really makes my game day more enjoyable. I was worried about spills and stains, but the flooring from Carroll's Carpet is so easy to clean.
With interest-free financing, come in today and get ready for the big game. Visit carrollscarpetmontgomery.com or the Montgomery or Prattville showrooms.
Next contestant.
Honey, you look confused. What's wrong?
I'm having a hard time remembering to take my medications like I'm supposed to. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to worry you.
I'm glad you told me, because I heard that Adams Drugs has a medicine on time service that will package your monthly medications and make them easier to manage. Our neighbors, Bill and Leslie, mentioned the other day that they use Adams and how they have made it so easy for them to manage their medications.
Do you think we can call Adams Drugs? Or go by there and see if they can help me? I don't want to get to the point where you have to put me into an assisted living home.
Why don't you get your medications together right now, and let's go down to Adams and talk to the pharmacist.
How much does the Medicine on Time service cost?
I asked Bill that same question, and he told me it's a free service for Adams customers.
Free? Wow, I'm feeling really good about this already. Let me grab my meds list.
Call Adams Drugs Medicine on Time for your pharmacist consultation. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for more information on our Medicine on Time packaging service.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
On FM, on your smartphone, and online, the River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. I'm your host, Joey Clark, and again, we have State Representative Philip Insler here in the studio. So the big news has been this back and forth about congressional districts, and I'm sure you were there. You have a front row seat to all the haggling and all the jockeying going on behind the scenes with redistricting. So before I maybe insert my own opinion too much here, what's your just general sense of this process so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, and for listeners, I'm sure they've heard the news, but just kind of big picture, right? Every 10 years when we do the census, state legislatures have to redraw everything from, the state legislative lines, but also then have the power to draw the congressional ones. And the demographics of Alabama, changed in the last 10 years. And when the congressional and when the lines are drawn, it's guided by the Constitution, but then a lot of it also, of course, the Voting Rights Act. So I wasn't there when they redrew the lines the first time, but I know the argument then was, look, the population of Alabama, as far as white and black, that when you have 7 congressional districts, that having 2 that are majority black population, the state legislature, though, talk about gambling, gambled on and said, all right, well, we're going to draw it the way that we want. To have a lower court that, and I believe 2 of the 3 judges were Trump appointees, so this wasn't some, partisan hack, but have a lower court say, that the map likely violated the Voting Rights Act, goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, which we know the numbers there, for a conservative Supreme Court to say we agree with the lower court. So as a legislature, we went back then into the special session, and in our caucus on the Democratic side, we said, look, you have a lower court, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, said that that it likely violates the Voting Rights Act, and have either a second majority black district or something. I think the language is close to it.
Competitive, yeah.
And the arguments we made were, look, the Supreme Court and the lower court have made it clear, why gamble, why do something that's not close to majority or very close to that. And we made, those arguments, but it, the map went ahead and passed along party line. Well, actually, there was one on the House side, one member who voted against it on the Republican side. And, then the court yesterday, and our caucus were very, pleased to see that the lower court once again said to the legislature, you ignored what we said, and now we're going to appoint a special master. my thing is that it shouldn't have gotten to that point. This is taxpayer dollars and time that we didn't, going into a special session. And, let's get into the details. I mean, all of that mileage, all the hotel money that's spent on legislators coming back to Montgomery, that's taxpayer dollars. If we want to be fiscally conservative, if we want to be good stewards, the first time around when the court said this is wrong, it shouldn't have even gotten to that point of having the court say that it was wrong if we just did what was right in the first place. But to then have to have a special session and use that time and money, that's time that I could have spent, going to neighborhood meetings, working on things related to community safety or education. There's only so many hours in the day. So I think even from a bigger picture standpoint, if the legislature did the right thing in the first place, we would have been able to focus on, other actual issues. And look, we should be able to, as a legislature, do things without federal courts then getting involved and telling us what to do. No one likes being told what to do. But that was then a decision that the majority made. And, now the federal government or the federal courts are going to, draw the new maps.
No, but the first time around, and I'm sure they were, I know for a fact, plenty of people saying you're doing it the wrong way initially. And I mean, of course, a lawsuit was brought. So there are folks who were making that argument early. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, most people, Republican, Democrat, doesn't really matter your politics, were a little surprised by that initial Supreme Court ruling. They thought the conservative court would go with the majority. And just give a little more background, I was fresh off a election law undergrad class at Auburn when pre-clearance, Section 5, was removed. And I love that class. A Native American man who I'm pretty sure came to class high all the time. He would just constantly make jokes and mess with people. Even his tests would be mind games and jokes. But he was very engaging, great professor. And when we saw pre-clearance removed by the court, all sorts of people were yelling, screaming. I said, well, let the Congress pass pre-clearance for all states. I think that the court had a point that the formula we were using in the 60s doesn't apply, doesn't meet standards today. And I think the irony is that the 6 Republican districts, the 1 minority majority district, that had been pre-cleared before by the DOJ. Now you get rid of pre-clearance. People don't like the pre-clearance, you're chipping away at the Voting Rights Act. But now that it's up to the state, they now get hit by the federal court. So it seems to be, what I'm groping towards here is that when you look at the history of gerrymandering and drawing lines, it seems like folks are often groping for an objective standard or principled thing, where the more I watch this, especially every few times they do this, it seems like it's just a political decision at the end of the day.
Right, and you have, in some states, I know that they've gone towards these, nonpartisan redistricting commissions, and then, that means that, the majority party in that state, is giving up, the power that they have to draw it, but, that seems to be one approach to saying, well, take the parties out of it and allow, kind of nonpartisan or more objective people to weigh in on it. We don't seem to be, I don't think there's an interest in doing that in Alabama.
But and also in this state, if we did that, then we would just be jockeying behind the scenes on the objective committee.
Right. And I think knowing the reality that we're in, that it's, and I know people often talk about it in the race and party and all of that kind of got interchanged or were used over and over again. But from a legal standpoint, it wasn't about just Democrat and Republican. It was saying allow voters to choose a candidate of their choice. And the argument that was have a second majority black district and then allow those voters to decide whether it was a Democrat or Republican. Now we know in Alabama the reality is that overwhelmingly black residents vote Democrat, white residents vote Republican. So it corresponds or correlates in certain ways. But it as much as the conversation became about partisan or kind of party, it really ultimately was about race, which is what the Voting Rights Act and then of course the Constitution are about.
Now, and we got to hit another break here, but when we come back, I as much as you want to, I don't do gotcha interviews, but when I see these things being redrawn, for instance, this one that was just rejected by the lower federal court, I know when the first case came down from the Supreme Court, Terry Sewell was very overjoyed, especially publicly. Right. But then I'm wondering what, say, Congresswoman Sewell was thinking when she saw, well, I'm winning by 70%, and it's now down to a 51% advantage. And I'm just using Terry as an example. I think there are a lot of folks whether you're Barry Moore or Jerry Carl on the Republican side, probably going to have to go to head, or your local up-and-coming talent within the Democratic Party in these two new districts. This is really, I think, going to reshape Alabama politics. It gives opportunity, and opportunity, of course, people are going to jockey for that, and it should be fascinating to watch. I'd love to pick your brain about that if you're so kind, sir. But first, we got to hit this break. This part of the program brought to you by XI Repair. And they're at XI Repair, Jonathan Strange and his team. Well, they can help you with all those basic electronic repairs, but they specialize in smartphones. So you got a cracked screen, you dropped it in the parking lot. Well, they can fix that. Usually very cheaply.
An hour, right?
Yeah, 30 minutes often. Yeah. Maybe you got a battery not holding the charge. You charge it all night, and just a few hours into the day, you're in the red.
Guess what? You got a battery problem there, Joe.
Yeah, and you don't have to get a new phone.
No,
they can do a battery replacement.
That's right.
Actually, this iPhone 10 we're using to film,
yeah,
it had a bad battery. The port wasn't broken. It was a dirty port.
Good and dirty.
So they fixed the port. They fixed the battery. That took about an hour. It was only like $100-something. A lot cheaper than a brand new phone.
A lot cheaper than a phone.
And, of course, they can sell you brand new smartphones, refurbished smartphones. They can work on desktop computers, laptop computers, top-end gaming consoles like a PlayStation 5. You don't have to send it off in the mail. Just go to XI Repair. Or data recovery services. So if that soon-to-be ex-husband of yours tried to delete that in the SOB, try to delete certain incriminating text messages, hey, XI Repair can recover that.
They can find them.
Have your legal counsel contact XI Repair. They do a lot of work on that, seriously.
They sure do.
So y'all check them out today. You can always go to xirepair.com and start a job there. The letter X, the letter I, repair.com. Or you can call them at 777-1234. That's 777-1234. And be sure to tell Jonathan Strange and the team there that Joey and Eddie from News and Views in the Afternoon sent you. More with Philip Ensler on the other side of this break.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage.
And I'm Madeline Cannon, and we have some exciting news to share with you. We've been serving the state of Alabama for many, many years, and now we are able and ready to offer the same great mortgage financing in Georgia and Florida as well.
Our company may be Alabama Home Mortgage, but now we can finance your Georgia home mortgage and your Florida home mortgage too. We couldn't be more excited to extend our customer base to our neighboring states. For years, we have had customers call us in hopes we could assist them with purchasing their vacation cabin in North Georgia or their dream home in Florida. And now we can. For those of you who have family and friends that live in Florida and Georgia, be sure to tell them the good news.
Whether you are looking to purchase or refinance a home located in Alabama, Georgia, or Florida, you owe it to yourself to give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time.
It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-368, Equal Housing Lender.
This is your roving reporter, and today I'm speaking with an adventurer here in the Himalayas who is searching for the abominable snowman.
Hey man, what's happening?
How is your search going?
Not too bad, man. It's kind of windy out here today, so I'm taking a short break to call my money man, David Ernest.
The world-famous asset preservationist.
Yeah, man, that's him. He is my money man, you know.
Well, what number are you calling?
He has two, man, 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839.
And after you talk with him to make sure that everything is fine with your retirement money, you will continue your search.
That's right, man. As a matter of fact, before you came up, I thought I spotted the abominable snowman over there.
Over there?
Yeah, right over there. He was standing next to a snowbank, putting snow up his nose.
Let me see those binoculars. Oh, sorry.
That's not him?
Nope. That's Hunter Biden.
Hush up, boy.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas
Well, hi, everybody. We've had a dry forecast for the last few days, but we've got a front on the way that could help us tomorrow. Tonight, we're dry, mostly clear, overnight low 71. Tomorrow, with a high in the middle 90s again, an approaching front will bring a small risk of thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon and evening hours. Then, behind that front, on Friday and Saturday, somewhat lower humidity. Lots of sunshine, 94 Friday, 93 Saturday, not much change on Sunday. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Whether you're buying a home or auto or consolidating debt, CB&S Bank's personal loans get you where you need to go. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you or apply online today. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Continue the conversation here with State Representative Philip Insler, and I was just asking you about, well, who do you think is up-and-coming talent within the Alabama Democratic Party? Again, we're going to have to, where the lines are going to be drawn, it'll decide who's actually in this thing. But when you look around the party, and maybe you can say yourself, but who do you see within the Alabama Democratic Party that you think is going to compete here?
Yeah, and I know that is the question everyone has, is who's going to run, and the speculation. I'm not going to name names because I really don't know who is going to run or not run, and that in itself will all become a story. But all let's say that on the Democratic side, in the state generally, we have some really great younger mayors, and Mayor Reed, Mayor Woodfin, as we talked about. Certainly within the whole Democratic caucus at the State House, whether it's younger or even young at heart, there's a lot to be said, I think, about experience.
Sure.
But there are what's really what I've enjoyed a lot seeing is that for colleagues of mine, whether it's in the caucus at the State House, whether it's mayors, that there are certain issues that we all care about or are talking about, but then there was also that focus on what matters most to people in their district. One thing I do want to point out, just because thinking about younger people, Jeremy Gray. Who
Jeremy's great.
Represents, and I'm not talking about this in context of congressional stuff, but he had a bill this session that dealt with making sure that coaches or people working with young athletes, that they're trained, should there be any sort of cardiac arrest or health issue on the field. And just that perspective of he was an athlete himself, so works with young people, and that I think was just really an important bill, but also just thinking about young people and kind of that perspective that he brought, I think is really important. But yeah, as far as the congressional seat, I know there are all sorts of names being thrown out. One thing that's we were talking about this during the break, that's interesting to think about or keep an eye on is that unlike state legislative districts where you are required to live in the district, well, I know that's been in the news, lately, but for congressional districts, there's no law or requirement that someone has to live in the district. So even if the district ends up, and I'm biased, I hope it's that Montgomery, is within that second district, or second majority black district that the court draws. But people from anywhere in the state can end up running for it, and that's what will be interesting to see, who throws their hat in there.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. At least it'll be a change. Too long, Alabama politics comes across as scripted to me. I know it's not completely, but it's not true kayfabe like wrestling, but it's kind of like, we know this is the direction we're going, and not. I like surprises in politics. I think it's actually pretty healthy for us.
And look, and maybe this sounds a little idealistic or naive, but I really do think that talking to residents on a regular basis, at neighborhood meetings, at school sporting events, people keep up a little bit with what's happening in national politics and some of the party stuff. And I think for those of us that are involved, that are in kind of that bubble, there's always that chatter of who's going to run and who's not. But most people really care about just knowing that those that are in elected office are going to try to do the right thing, that they're going to be honest. And again, maybe that sounds romanticized or that's naive of me to think that can happen in politics. But I just, in all of the conversation about who may run, who may not, what cities are going to be in the district, most people, at least that I talk to in my legislative district, they want to know, okay, well, is the person in there in touch with, the district? Are they in touch with the day-to-day needs? Did they realize, right, as we were talking about, that their residents every day dealing with their air conditioning's going out and they're having to pay to replace that, or dealing with making sure that they can afford groceries? And yes, the partisan political stuff and talking about the lines and the court cases, I mean, all of that is important, but my hope is that it becomes a conversation about, well, who is really going to go to DC and not just get caught up in some of the fighting and personality stuff, but really focus on, can they deliver for Alabama? Can they deliver for Montgomery or whatever the district is? And again, there are going to be heated differences on policy, and that's fine and that's good. But my hope is that the focus, especially in the election, is on that, on what are the ideas, what are people going to do, what do they bring to the table?
And I got to hit another very quick break here. First, this part of the program brought to you by New Look Decorating Center. Brett Lanham there, the manager. And Eddie, that guy's passionate about paint.
Incredibly passionate. That's why I love having him in here.
Great guy. Also, I think he plays a little guitar.
I think
he start jamming with him.
I think he believes in jamming, Joey.
I like a man who knows his way around a six-string. But at New Look Decorating Center, they can help you with that high-quality Benjamin Moore paint and stain supplies. Or if you're looking for wallpaper or fabrics, Katie is a specialist.
They got a girl for that, right?
Yeah, they've got that specialty, that Tebow wallpaper everybody keeps talking about. It's pretty nice stuff. Yeah. So go see Katie if you're interested in wallpaper and fabrics. But you can talk to all those paint specialists there, whether you're doing it yourself, maybe a quick weekend job. They can give you tips and tricks so you do it yourself the right way the first time. Or maybe you're contracting out the job. Good news, they know all the painters in town, all the contractors in town that can help you out there. And not only when you buy at New Look Decorating are you supporting local business, but again, because they're a Benjamin Moore store, you're supporting the larger Alabama economy. Benjamin Moore, one of their largest plants, if not their largest, is here in Alabama, Joey. Pell City, Alabama. So it's good to support the local economy. So check them out today. You can always call them at 271-0007. That's 271-0007, or just stop by that showroom, 6237 Atlanta Highway, right where Bell Road dead ends to Atlanta Highway. You'll see it there in all its glory. Benjamin Moore's New Look Decorating Center. And be sure to tell them, well, you heard about them here on News and Views in the afternoon. Very quick break. When we come back, I actually have a question about what's your title with the Jewish Federation of Central Alabama?
Executive Director.
Executive Director, okay. Because I get the emails, and there's a lot of stuff in the news. It's more national, international level, but I think it'd be good to talk on more local, personal basis. So be right back after this.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hey, Mike, I heard you're traveling to Washington next week. Sounds like a fun trip. Why the frown on your face?
Well, it's gonna take me 2 days to get to and from D.C. for a meeting that will last less than an hour. And because of that, I'm going to miss my son's baseball game.
Have you heard? The Montgomery Airport now has direct nonstop flights to Washington, D.C. You fly out the day before your meeting and be back in Montgomery the next day, all in time to catch the evening ball game.
That's a win then. I'll be flying MGM.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The premier place the River Region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Where we left off, again, we're talking to State Representative Philip Insler. He's also the executive director of the Jewish Federation of Central Alabama. And, there are, we were just talking off mic. I saw an email you sent about certain threat levels. But broader than that, it caught my attention because I would hope we don't see a lot of that there here in Montgomery. You see a lot of anti-Semitism just out in the open. You see a lot of that crap, and that's a mild word to use, on Twitter and online. But as somebody who's a leader here in the Jewish community, are you seeing a lot of it, or do you feel like you fit in here in Alabama and in Montgomery?
Yeah, and so, the listeners are clear, right? I have my role as state representative, but then separately, I'm the executive director of what's called the Jewish Federation of Central Alabama. That's a nonprofit organization that's been around for decades that has, served to, when you think about a church or, a synagogue or Jewish congregation, there's obviously the religious organized part, but then there's also kind of more the community social side. Right, yeah. So the Jewish Federation, what we do is, whether it's around certain holidays, organizing events, whether it's making sure that if there are Jewish students at Hillel, at Alabama or Auburn at Hillel, which are the Jewish organizations, making sure they have a good college experience. But also what we do is try to keep the Jewish community and the community at large informed about, events and fun things, but also more serious things. So unfortunately, right, a few weeks ago, we were informed that there was someone who had been making threats against jurors in Pittsburgh from the Tree of Life Synagogue trial there for the person that had shot up the synagogue there. And in some of his social media posts then mentioned the Alabama Jewish community. So the advice we were given was to put out what's called a BOLA, be on alert. And, as we were saying on the commercial break, it's striking the balance of, you don't want to live in fear, you don't want to unnecessarily scare people. Right. But if there's someone out there who is physically threatening, particularly the Jewish community, just letting people know, and it's just to be vigilant, the way that, whether it's in school or church or, for us for synagogue, just being aware of, is there suspicious activity? Is there someone who, you haven't recognized? And of course, we want to be welcoming. We want to be, a place that is open to, all people, but also you got to be, mindful and careful. Sure. Unfortunately, the FBI did then end up arresting him for the threats he made to those jurors. Good. And, at least that threat, is no longer a concern at the moment.
Yeah, because I get the emails and it's usually like, oh, we're meeting, and then that one got my attention. And I just, we could get into the politics. I could talk for a while about how I think sometimes the label of whatever form of bigotry is used for political reasons, but it is real too. And I just, y'all are my neighbors, so I don't want any of that crap around here. I'll put it that way.
Sure. No, and I appreciate it. And it takes everyone, speaking up and standing up and making sure they're right. Anyone of any background isn't targeted, because of who they are. I know we throw it out there, to, love thy neighbor, but right, it's not literally, yes, love the person that, people that live around you in your neighborhood, but also in a broader sense, of people that are just fellow human beings.
Right.
Well, here we got Ray Bowles on the line. Ray with Prattville Carpet. How you doing, Ray?
I'm good. I am good. I tell you what, this world is full of lunatics. It's just nuts how people can hate each other for no reason.
I know.
I get aggravated at Angel, but that's because I live with her.
You don't think she gets aggravated with you just a little bit, Ray?
I'm perfect. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Perfect spouse. Absolutely, she gets aggravated at me. We had somebody over here working on our internet a minute ago. She's like, "You got to be here. I don't understand what they're saying." So I'm at home right now trying to deal with our internet. But hey, I agree. Y'all stay safe. The Satan is real, and he wants all of us, and he uses people to do it, unfortunately. So yeah, just stay safe, stay aware, because being on the council, I got my fair share of hate speech when I was on there, and people threaten you over nothing. It's just idiotic.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you for that and sharing that. And right, in politics, we can vehemently disagree, but right, the people that then get to the point of physically threatening others, that's crazy. That's childish, it's immature, and right, it's crazy. And we all have to continue to be able to say, hey, we can disagree or have different views or we have different backgrounds, but still, shake hands and, look out for one another as we're all God's children.
I mean, we would disagree and then go eat supper after.
Yes, that's how it should be.
Then Argo would get mad at me and then make me read the weeded lots because I'm dyslexic and I can't read.
Now there was about to be a fist fight with some older men that day. Dean Argo came on.
I knew I ticked him off. I'm like, I'm not doing that again.
But by the way, you still you sell carpet?
Yes, we do. Give us a call, 285-8117. Any kind of flooring, any flooring that you need, give us a call. I've got some really cool floors coming in on Friday's truck that we'll talk about on Monday.
Excellent.
Well, I appreciate it, Ray, and we'll talk again tomorrow.
Guys, have a great day.
You too, Ray.
And 285-8117. And Philip, you see how many breaks and all these things we got to do, but I appreciate you being here in the conversation. And in just a broader sense, yeah, we do have disagreements, but at the end of the day, we're neighbors. You're my representative. We should be able to know each other and talk. So I appreciate you, sir.
Absolutely. No, glad to be on here and looking forward to many more conversations.
Yes, sir. Greg Budell, I can see him. And
Yeah,
Rosie's
him and
looking,
Rosie.
Rosie's
Looking great,
looking
man.
good today.
That's great.
Happy hours next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is